And he is the man who has this man most concerned, Hayden Fry, whose Iowa Hawkeyes came within 30 minutes of winning the Big Ten championship. Fry says to win tonight, Iowa must run the football, and that means Mike Saunders' final game as a Hawkeye must be a great memory. It's the Hawkeyes and Cougars, the Holiday Bowl at San Diego's Jack Murphy Stadium. Let's go inside San Diego's Jack Murphy Stadium, where ESPN proudly presents the 14th annual Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl. It's the 7th team in the nation, the Iowa Hawkeyes, going against the Western Athletic Conference champion, Brigham Young Cougars. Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Fiziuk. We expect an absolute shootout between two of the best offenses in the country. The balance of the Iowa Hawkeyes against one of the great passing games in the country, the Brigham Young Cougars. And there's one guy who can't wait for these two teams to meet up, and that's my partner, Gary Danielson. Big reason why is Ty Detmer. He has been remarkable in his career. 59 passing records he holds in NCAA history. And one reason is the Brigham Young system, but you say there's something different about this guy.
Absolutely. He's doing things coaches and people said would never be done. Throwing for 15,000 yards. I mean, that's like beating Bob Beeman's long jump record. They said it couldn't be done. And he does it with a combination of toughness, leadership, ability to throw the ball with touch, and most of all, a toughness and imagination of running the system. And when he gets out of that system, when he gets out of the pocket, coaches say he's at his toughest.
Well, last year, in the Holiday Bowl, he lost to Texas A&M 65-14, and they came at him with a hard, blitzing defensive unit. And that's the same kind of style that Iowa provides. 60 sacks this year, led by the Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten, Leroy Smith.
Leroy Smith has to have a big game. They need to put pressure, Iowa does, on Ty Detmer early in the game. But it's going to be an 11-man unit that has to do it. They're going to have to disguise their coverages, because if Ty Detmer knows what's happening before the ball is snapped, no matter how fast Leroy Smith gets to him, I believe Ty Detmer will be able to get that ball out of his hands.
You know, we talked about the balance of the Iowa offense, the scratch-where-it-itch mentality of Hayden Fry. He says, I'll take what the defense will give me, and he says his main scratcher is his quarterback the last 3 years, Matt Rogers.
Matt Rogers is also the son of a coach, and he understands what his offense has to do. It has to have balance. All Big Ten quarterback 2 years straight. He understands the Iowa system. He knows how to take advantage of the running game and the passing game. What's going to be key is to move the ball down the field and play keep away. Deny the ball from Ty Detmer, and that's Iowa's best chance to win.
All right, we expect a great offensive game. It's the Holiday Bowl. It's Iowa and Brigham Young. Coming up next.
Get a glass of water. Throw it in your face.
ESPN's presentation of the Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl. Iowa and Brigham Young is brought to you by Thrifty Car Rental. For worldwide reservations, call 1-800-4CARS or your travel consultant. By today's Duracell, the Copper Top Battery. And by SeaWorld, with parks in Orlando, San Diego, San Antonio, and Cleveland. San Diego's Jack Murphy Stadium does not see much rain, but we had it this weekend. Downpour yesterday, showers this morning, but it's beginning to clear, and temperatures will be in the 60s. A chance of rain, maybe about 30%, but they're saying that's late this evening, probably after the ball game. Winds are out of the northwest. Well, for a closer look at this ball game and this exciting matchup between Iowa and Brigham Young, let's go down to our sideline reporter, Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thank you very much, Steve, and happy holidays, everyone. You know, historically, this Holiday Bowl has been one of the most high-scoring, explosive games of all the postseason affairs. But don't take my word for it. Listen to Gary Gabasso. Who's Gary Gabasso? He's the young man who has to change all 26,000 of these bulbs in that massive scoreboard behind me. It takes a workout every year after the Holiday Bowl. In the past 3 years, there have been 244 points scored here. Unfortunately for the BYU Cougars, most of them have been scored by their opponents. In '89, Penn State scored 50 points. Last year, the Aggies of Texas A&M, 65 points. But we know the Cougars can really light up the scoreboard as well. On this field here just 1 month ago, they scored 52 points, and they have averaged over 50 points the last 3 games of the year. So what am I telling you? Basically, I'm giving you a little bit of a warning. Folks, gather all your game groceries, all your victory vittles, whatever you want to call them, put them on a nice soft coffee table right in front of you, because one ill-timed trip to the refrigerator and you could miss possibly one touchdown or more. It should be that kind of exciting contest here tonight. Let's go back upstairs.
All right, Jerry, thank you very much. There's Ty Detmer. His Cougars go against the Iowa Hawkeyes. It's the first ever meeting between these two schools. The kickoff is next. Detmer has broken in his career, so why not bring a guy who knows all about records to toss the coin? There's Wayne Gretzky, great player of the LA Kings, and possibly the greatest hockey player in NHL history. And he tossed the coin, and what did it read? Iowa wins the toss, and they have elected to receive the football. So the Hawkeyes will be on offense as we start this football game. Earl Kaufman will kick off. It's number 7 Iowa, the second-place team in the Big Ten, against Lavelle Edwards, Brigham Young Cougars.
A big strategy already, Steve. They want to get the ball in their hands before Ty Detmer can put points on the board. Instead of deferring, he wants the ball. Hayden Fry first in this game.
And Hayden Fry, you see the 4-5 record. He has never lost in the Holiday Bowl. And here we go. Earl Kaufman will be kicking off, wearing number 86, a 6-foot senior from Universal City, Texas. And he'll be kicking off to the very dangerous Harold Jasper, number 83. Maybe the better of the two return artists. Dana Hughes, number 3, is the other, a junior from Bayonne, New Jersey. And there is Hughes, who was first team All Big Ten at wide receiver. The other guy will be playing in the Rose Bowl, that's Desmond Howard. And this is Jasper. And he's out past the 20-yard line. To the 26 before he's punished there by Brigham Young. A 21-yard return by Harold Jasper. And there is Matt Rogers, quarterback for Iowa, 6'4" senior from Walpole, Massachusetts, second all-time in Hawkeye touchdown passes with 41 in his career. Let's check the rest of the Energizer starting lineups. Backs and receivers. Mike Saunders played wide receiver in the Rose Bowl last year, but has gained over 900 yards at tailback this season. Dana Hughes is the big play receiver with 8 touchdowns. The offensive line averages 276 pounds. They're led by their center, Mike Devlin. First and 10 from just past the 25, and they give it to Saunders, and he's out near the 28-yard line. Let's take a look at that Brigham Young defense. Their defensive line, inexperienced with 2 freshmen and a sophomore, but Randy Brock has the potential to be a great one. Linebackers, Rocky Beagle, the star. He is second of the team with 192 tackles, but the guy next to him, Shad Hansen, has 193. Defensive backfield has come together after a terrible game 6 weeks ago at Jack Murphy Stadium against San Diego State. Tony Crutchfield must pull it all together against Matt Rogers. From the 27, it is 2nd and 9. And again, they run Saunders. He's got the first down. And Saunders, who had over 900 yards rushing this season, has 18 on this play for a Hawkeye first down.
Mike Saunders, such a versatile running back because he will get down the field and catch the ball. This is just a straight ahead isolation play. This is the type of plays that BYU knows they have to stop. It's no surprise here. This is what they expected. They were going to stunt early to try to take this running game away. If Mike Saunders is able to run the ball between the tackles, Hayden Fry will be very happy.
We saw him earlier this year against Purdue with perhaps his best game of his career, including a long run of over 70 yards. Just inside the 45, Rogers' first pass is complete, and it goes to John Falloon. Let's go down to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Steve, there are some great ones on the field tonight, but one of the all-time greats, number 99 for the LA Kings, Wayne Gretzky. And Wayne, welcome to college football. Your first visit here to a football game.
Yeah, it's my first time ever to a college football game, and I have to tell you, it's really quite a show and really pretty amazing what goes on here.
Now, what are you doing here? You're representing, I guess, the bowl?
I'm with Thrifty Rent-A-Car, and they've been kind enough to bring me down here, so I helicoptered down. I'm just here to see the football game.
Wayne, thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you very much.
Wayne Gretzky on the sideline, Steve.
He's seen some pro games. He owns one north of the border in Toronto. 2nd down and 5. Saunders this time will be wrapped up by the left side of the defense, Randy Brock. Now, Wayne Gretzky, he owns the Toronto Argonauts, and why not when they get the Rocket?
You know you're a good player because in your prime, you own another pro franchise. That's how you really judge the great ones from just the regular superstars. The only one that's got stats anywhere near Wayne Gretzky is Ty Detmer, the quarterback from BYU. Just as amazing.
He is. 3rd down and 3. Lavelle Edwards has seen his defense ravaged here at Jack Murphy Stadium the last 5 games. They've given up 218 points in that time. And Rogers, well, he's got the first down to Danon Hughes, but there's a flag down near the line of scrimmage. A gain of 8. There's Larry Fisher, Jr., our lead referee tonight.
Brigham Young that time, Steve, jumped into a bear look front to try to cause some problems in the running game for Iowa. They just lined up a little bit too close. One of the problems, that signature of the Iowa offense, that stand-up tight end.
Offsides on the defense, decline, first down.
If you're not used to seeing that, you can crowd the ball a little bit too much when you're trying to get the jam. A little bit of a different wrinkle that BYU has never seen before, that stand-up tight end.
Well, there's Lavelle Edwards, finishing his 20th year at Brigham Young. Iowa with a first down. They have been so strong this year in the first quarter. And Saunders is hit, and hit hard by Greg Pitts.
Number 32, Mike Saunders, the ball carrier.
Greg Pitts is one of the pair of redshirt freshman defensive ends or defensive tackles, whichever you prefer, number 99 and number 97, Randy Brock, who both have to come through and stop the running game inside to help out those inside linebackers.
There's Greg Pitts down. He's that 6'5" freshman from Provo. And I had an opportunity to ride up the elevator to Marriott the other day with him, and he is an Eagle Scout.
You didn't have much room in there with him either. I'll tell you, he is a man. At number 99, he goes 265 pounds.
Yeah, at that size, you knew he got his merit badge in cooking.
He came off of his block right here, and all of a sudden he looks up, and there's a runner right in him. It looks like his neck got compressed just a little bit. He wasn't able to wrap up. He's trying to hold on, but you anticipate some kind of a stinger or something in the shoulder area when that happens. Steve, you know, Iowa's moving the ball down the field very methodically, the way they want to do it, eating up some time. But for BYU, this is like a defensive stand compared to the way they played against San Diego State, where the first play of the game was a bomb for a touchdown.
Well, that first possession, you know, Hayden was telling us, has always been important. Last year, they led the Big Ten in scoring in the first half. This year, they led the conference in scoring in the first quarter, outscoring the opposition 92-26. So here we go, 7th play of this opening drive by Iowa coming, and it's a 2nd and 5. Montgomery, Saunders, the backs. And Rogers looking downfield. He'll take the secondary man. That's tight end Alan Cross.
That was an audible by Matt Rogers that time. He knew they were in man-to-man coverage. He tried to get the ball downfield. And what he does so well is looks at these linebackers. He sees the deep drop. He knows he has patience and someone else to come underneath. Beagle comes up to make the stop, but not before they get a gain throwing the ball. As you say before, Matt Rogers understands the offense and is patient enough to move the ball. It's like playing pitch and catch out there. They go deep, you throw short.
You know, he was talking about being a coach's son, his dad, the NBA coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. And he said, you know, when you're a coach's son, sometimes you just rely on common sense because it's so repetitive. You've been through so many situations before, and you have to take what that defense will give you.
Yeah, you grow up around it, and you understand what a coach is trying to accomplish on the field, and it just becomes a way of life. You know, if your dad's a hunter, you know, you can understand hunting. If your dad's a coach, you understand competitive instincts and what it takes to mold the team and be a winner on the field. Two great quarterbacks, both sons of coaches.
There's Ronnie Harmon, former Iowa Hawkeye great. And Saunders is the guy who has replaced him because Hayden Fry has always had a guy who can go to running and receiving the football. And he said Saunders is the best back he's had do that since Ronnie Harmon. They need one on 3rd down. And Rogers will sneak it for the first down. He goes 6'4", 205 pounds. Let's go down to talk with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Guys, Gary Danielson was exactly correct. I guess Gary went to medical school in Purdue, but Greg Pitts, sitting behind me, the freshman defensive tackle, has a sting, just as Gary said. He has some pain burning down his right shoulder into his right arm. That should dissipate over the next 4 or 5 minutes. Probably we'll see him back in the game in the next defensive series. Back upstairs.
Thanks, Jerry. You know, the problem with those stingers, they'll get back in 4 or 5 minutes, but about 10 years, they all come back and start hurting again.
You know, it's great to go down the sideline and have a doctor say, that should dissipate. Do you even know what dissipate means?
Well, I fit it in when they fit it in the sentence, I do. I can put it together.
It's first down for Iowa. Hughes went in motion. Saunders with the carry, left side, nears the 25-yard line.
Rocky Beagle that time, number 45, came up and met the fullback Lou Montgomery, and that's really what he has to do. The linebackers have to move forward into those isolation plays and stuff the hole before it gets too wide. Rocky Beagle, a 3-year starter at linebacker right there, he understands the running game, and that's why the inside linebackers make so many tackles. The guys up front are trying to free those linebackers up, but more importantly, Hansen and Beagle have to make the play in the backfield a few times.
Paul Kuyaba comes to the game to join Mike Sanders. And Rogers, looking play action, fires the pass for the first down.
Pass is complete to the man Hughes for Iowa.
Well, Scott Giles that time, number 47, is going to come in on a blitz right here off the play action, and he gets picked off just before he gets there. Saunders does the perfect thing. He ignores the fake when he sees a rushing linebacker, and goes in and makes the block. Play action passes have to get away when you see the blitz, and Saunders does a great job of just picking him off, nudging him, and then Rogers has the presence to find his primary receiver and deliver. Beautiful execution by Mike Saunders.
Saunders is 27 yards rushing on this drive alone. And he'll try the middle. Barely get back to the line of scrimmage. Will be second down and 10 yards to go. Now, the WAC teams play a lot of man defense. Matt Rogers has to really enjoy that.
Well, you don't see much of it in the Big Ten. It's just a different style. Everybody in the Big Ten wants to face the ball and not turn their back to the strong running games in that league. So he knows in man-to-man coverage and the stunting that he expected BYU to do, that he's going to have one-on-one throws, and it's not a lot of reading, it's more timing. When you play man-to-man, you've got to make the quarterback throw good passes, but I believe Matt Rogers believes he can do it.
Well, he has Hughes in single coverage against Patrick Mitchell, who's just a freshman off left side, and Rogers is going to give it to Saunders, who will score the touchdown.
15 yards and a Hawkeye touchdown.
Boy, great blocking by the right side of the line, led by Devlin, Ferroni, and Baxley.
Another type of a play that they just ran off of isolation. Watch Saunders come in. Derwin Gray, number 5, squares up, but the straight arm and the feet. In one step, he was right on him, and in another step, he was 3 feet to the right. Great running by Saunders that time. What a beautifully conceived drive, picking him with the run and the short pass, which Iowa trademark offense they've had since Hayden Fry came to Iowa.
And Saunders with his 9th touchdown this year. The point after touchdown is no good. Jeff Skillett, who is a very good kicker, struggles as he shanks it to the left. And here's Saunders run again.
Yeah, give credit to Baxley and Ferroni and Devlin, 2 all Big Ten linemen right there. But Saunders is just really emerging as a running back, and I really believe he's going to be playing on Sunday next year, catching and running the ball.
ESPN's presentation of the Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl, Iowa and Brigham Young, is brought to you by Isuzu. For features, styling, and price, there's no comparison. And by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. Mike Saunders, with his 9th rushing touchdown this year, gives Iowa a 6-0 lead. A very methodical drive by the Hawkeyes. 12 plays, 74 yards. They take 5:16 off the clock, and Saunders 40 yards rushing on that drive. And Gary, do you think it was important that Iowa takes the football when they win the toss?
Yeah, I alluded to it early, and I really think it was. He kept the ball out on Ty Detmer's hands.
Well, bringing up the field is Brad Clark, and he can barely get back to the 20-yard line, where the Cougars will start their offense with Ty Detmer at quarterback. He closes out an unbelievable career. First college quarterback to throw for over 15,000 yards. He'll be really spreading the ball around to his backs and receivers. Eric Drage had over 1,000 yards receiving and 10 touchdowns. Peter Tuipulotu is the top back. Offensive line is huge. They average 285 pounds. Their best power blocker is Brian May. First team all-WAC. He goes 6'6", 280 pounds. From the 21, Detmer eludes the pressure. A flag is down. He will complete the pass for a first down, but again, a flag in the offensive backfield. And the man that the official is arguing with is Tom Ladd, the right tackle. Do you ever see him change expression, whether it's a touchdown or a bad play?
Yeah, he knows they're going to score points in this football game. You know, as a quarterback like Ty Detmer, he just goes back in the huddle and tells the guys right now, no problem. That just means we're going to go for 89 yards instead of 79 yards.
And that's exactly the way Ty Detmer performed in that San Diego State game. What a remarkable show here 6 weeks ago. But Brigham Young, one of the most penalized football teams in the college game, Iowa, has shown their restraint.
Yeah, and it's a key to keep an eye on this because it's hidden yardage that's in a game like this. As many yards as Ty throws up there, he can't afford these types of penalties.
Ty needs 23 on first down. On play action, he must scramble. He throws it across his body, and the pass is incomplete to his tight end, Byron Rex.
I tell you, he's got eyes in the back of his head. I have never seen anybody scramble and throw off the run as well as him since maybe Roger Staubach. I mean, he goes from his right to his left and sees the whole field. And what he really does is when he's running to his right, he throws across the field to his left. And when he's running to his left, he can throw it to his right. So you have to defend the whole width of the field when he scrambles. Extremely dangerous.
Now 2nd and 23. This is what Detmer sees, those linebackers and linemen moving around. Well, they're coming hard. Detmer completes the pass, and falling down short of the first down is Eric Drage. 21 yards, they'll need 2 on third down.
This is a deep square-in pass against a deep zone by Iowa, which they will see all game. Watch where this ball is thrown. There isn't a window there of 2 or 3 yards where Ty Detmer puts that ball in. I'll tell you what, Steve, if you've got a son and daughter out there in the viewing audience that plays any kind of sport, tune them into this football game and learn how to compete and watch Ty Detmer play tonight.
Lavelle Edwards says Ty Detmer is the greatest competitor I've ever been around. He'll throw, and it's incomplete. Jamal Willis, who had such a great game here 6 weeks ago at San Diego State, where he caught 8 passes and 2 touchdowns and ran for another, drops this one, so Brigham Young must punt the football.
Well, Jamal Willis dropped the ball, but I think even if he had caught that ball, it would have been short of the first down. So good defense by Iowa that time. They backed off and made the Ty throw the ball in front of him.
You saw Kaufman's numbers, near 40 yards per punt. Last year, he was the best in the WAC at 43. He was really hammering them in pregame. And he hits this one pretty well, but Harold Jasper will let it go. It takes an Iowa bounce and now rolls inside the 35-yard line. Well, Ty Detmer, who threw for 599 yards his last meeting here at Jack Murphy Stadium, is on the phone upstairs to get his offense corrected.
Still going. Nothing outlasts the Energizer. They keep going and going.
If you're into working out, Bud Light invites you to get ready for the ultimate workout. The Bud Light Triathlon Series.
You can taste it, feel it, know you got it right. 'Cause everything else is just a light.
The Bud Light Triathlon Series. Just try it.
Mercedes, BMW, Lexus. Expensive cars with a life-saving luxury and airbag. Fortunately, there's also the Isuzu Stylus, the first import under $10,000 with a driver's side airbag standard. So you too can enjoy a lower cost of living. The Isuzu Stylus, there's no comparison. Hurry, year-end factory-to-dealer incentives end December 31st.
In today's financial climate, you need the strength and stability of the Buffalo. At Hennessy and Bull.
Still going. Nothing outlasts the Energizer. They keep going and going and...
This is the 14th Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl from San Diego Jack Murphy Stadium. Steve Physiak and Gary Danielson, where we have a 6-0 ball game. Iowa has the lead on Brigham Young. It came on a Mike Saunders 13-yard touchdown run. And now BYU's defense back to work, where they have suffered this year, given up nearly 30 points per game. Hayden Fry looking at his playbook. Last time Rogers had it, he completed all 4 passes. And he'll go to the air again. He completes it to Lou Montgomery, and Lou gets past the 35-yard line.
Well, Hayden Fry is taking a program at Iowa and really believes now he's up there with the high echelon teams in the nation. There you see him how he rakes. Both of our coaches, winningest active coaches, behind just Paterno and Bowden for Hayden Fry. Of course, Tom Osborne there from Nebraska, and Lavelle Edwards, who's done a magnificent job at BYU also. They had an average 3 wins a year for 10 years before Lavelle Edwards took it over. 2 great guys who turned around programs.
2nd down 6. Saunders tripped up. Nice tackle. And it was an outside linebacker, Jared Levitt.
Tripped up by number 50, Shad Hansen.
Shad Hansen coming in there to grab him, and now he'll go hobbling off as Hansen and Levitt come out. In nickel situations, David Kennard will be the extra defensive back. The Iowa Hawkeyes have outscored their opponents, as you see, 92-26 in the first quarter.
Yeah, Kevin Nicole, number 55, is also in there as a rush in.
Rogers under pressure will get sacked to the 25-yard line. Blitzing was strong safety Josh Arnold.
Steve, any name you would have drawn out that time, you could have said was blitzing besides the 2 corners. 8 people come for BYU that time. They're key blitzing. If they cover a man, they got him. If they get blocked, they keep coming. Good coverage in the secondary that time. Rogers had time to throw that ball, but it was good coverage, and Arnold comes through with the big sack.
And they're giving up like 1 sack a game.
But they sold out to do it that time. 8 people came.
There's Jim Hyzak. Only averaged 32.5 yards per punt this year for Iowa. One of the low marks in the Big Ten. And a chance at a return by Brad Clark. And he sneaks up near midfield. Well, Detmer has excellent field position to start Brigham Young's second offensive possession. A 38-yard punt, 12-yard return. And here comes Ty.
You know, if Dick Vitale was calling this game as a football player, basketball coach, he would say, if you're trying to stop a Michael Jordan, you got to deny him the ball. And that's what Iowa has to do from this guy. He's going to score once he gets the ball. You got to deny him the ball. 50-yard line's too tough to stop him.
Yeah, he's a real PTP'er, isn't he? Drage went in motion. This is Jamal Willis. Willis slashes his way past the 45. Well, New Year's Day is decision day in the college football season. Look at all the bowl matchups before the first kickoff in an hour-long college game day. That's at 10:30 Eastern time on ESPN. And that will be followed by the Peach Bowl, a great shootout between East Carolina and North Carolina State. And that is Jeff Blake in the purple uniform, who has had a remarkable season at quarterback for the Pirates this year. 11:30 on ESPN. After the gain of 6, it'll be 2nd and 4 for Brigham Young. Boy, they really send everybody out there, and Tui Pelotu makes the catch and the first down. One thing that they do is they really get their tight ends and backs downfield quickly.
We talked about what the signature was for Iowa, a backing up quarterback, a stand-up tight end, and balance. The signature for the BYU offense is flare control with their tight end and their backs. They get their people downfield farther from the tight end position and the back position than any pass-off offense I've seen, college or pro.
At the 38-yard line. Detmer with that quick three-step drop completes the pass, and because of it, he also avoids the pressure, and the pressure was coming from an Iowa defensive line that has really been excellent this year. We told you all about Leroy Smith, but watch for 6'6", 270-pound tackle Ron Gator, 9 sacks this year. The linebackers, the captain is John Derby, 256 career tackles. Secondary has really grown this year. Eddie Polly is a terrific cover guy, and we're forced to take the slot man when the Hawkeyes go to the nickel defense, and you think that's important, Gary?
It really is. They've got to stop the inside receiver to the strong side versus BYU. This time it's Drage.
Leroy Smith, defensive end right side, and he comes hard. They hand the ball off, and Smith comes from behind to make the tackle.
Leroy Smith is just an amazing football player, a running back in high school, probably the fastest player on the Iowa defense. He's going to come to the outside and beat the trap draw. Stops, resights, and comes from the backside to make the tackle on the draw. Really a play that they have to stop for BYU tonight. A draw play that they run so often in this game.
You see, he's from New Jersey. He was the 200 and 400 meters champion in the high school ranks. That gives you an idea how fast that outside linebacker defensive end is. Came to Iowa as a running back. They come with 4 this time. Detmer finds his man at the 20-yard line. Ho-ho! Byron Rex.
Question his arm anymore? He threw that ball about 25 yards and put it right on the numbers. Good coverage by Iowa. Byron Rex that time feels the zone. He stops. Now watch this ball delivered. Boom, and he's getting hit hard, and that ball is right on the numbers. It's an option play. Goes to the outside when Rex finds that open seam. Now watch this ball get delivered right on the numbers to the proper side of the receiver. As good as you can do it.
He is not a very big fellow. 6 foot barely, 170+ pounds. With the heart of a lion. And he's going downfield again. It is knocked down beautifully by Brian Wise. Rex thought he was interfered with, but Wise's timing was perfect.
Brian Wise did a beautiful job that time of reading Ty's eyes. He broke on the ball before the ball really was thrown. You can see Wise, he's in the left part of your screen right there. He's trying to simulate a zone defense, but I really believe it was man-to-man. And he breaks on the ball before it was thrown. Might have got his arm on the shoulder here just before the ball got there because he anticipated. He read it well. He really outmaneuvered Ty Detmer, and I believe he probably got his head as he came across right there, but awfully close.
Second down. He has to elude the pressure this time. He'll run. And he'll be shy of a first down by about 2.5 yards. You know, you take a look at him and how savagely he has been beaten this year. I had an opportunity to do the UCLA-Washington State game last year, and Washington State had just played Brigham Young. Talked with their defenders, and they said, we hit this kid so hard. I'll bet 15 times, and every time he'd pop up, pat us in the back and say, good hit.
Well, I mean, he's used to it. He knows when he goes out there that they're going to try to intimidate him and play physical football against him. So he can't ever flinch out there because it'll get tougher if he does.
3rd and 2.
Watch for the option football to the tight end.
They give it to Tui Pelotu, and he's near that first down marker at the 10-yard line.
Yeah, I don't think he made it. It looked like his knee went down just before the line. Wouldn't be surprised to see BYU go for the field goal right here.
That's how much they needed. And they marked the football just shy of the 10-yard line, so it's 4th down. And Edwards is not sending out Eric Kaufman yet. He may call a timeout, and now he will. Time out on the field. Detmer wants to talk things over. 2:12 to play in this first quarter. And it's 6-0 Iowa.
Behind me.
Thrifty Car Rental and Cox Cable.
5 for 5, not trying to go down the field right now, bringing up that defense by throwing the ball short, moving the sticks, and controlling the ball by throwing the ball to his backs.
And there's a great backup in Jimmy Hartley, who took over and won that big Ohio State game, or helped win that game this year. And also helped beat Indiana. Saunders has the first down.
Well, Mike Saunders, you just never feel like you get a pure shot at him. His feet are so shifty. Josh Arnold, number 20, is going to come from the right side right here, but watch him shift those feet. He's got receiver-type moves as a running back. A little bit of a stiff arm, but Josh Arnold just never got close enough to grab anything.
Well, last year at this time, he was a wide receiver. Played for Iowa in the Rose Bowl, where he caught 5 passes for 88 yards. Reason he was out wide was because Nick Bell and Tony Stewart were 2 outstanding running backs for Iowa. He tries to unload it, and an offensive lineman touched it. Flags everywhere.
I'll tell you, it's going to be grounding to Matt Rogers, but I think Rocky Beagle is also going to get a penalty, 45, for an unnecessary type roughness after the hit. It was a strong safety blitz from the outside, and let's see if they don't have offsetting penalties. You're going to see coming from the outside, number 20, Josh Arnold, comes to the outside. Kuyava fans him. That should have been forward progress. Couldn't even have thrown the ball anyway. He throws the ball to one of his linemen. Now watch Beagle come up and take a hit right here.
No.
Beagle got a break on that play.
He sure
didn't get called, but he just as easily could have been. And that's some of the problems that BYU has had in the past of getting unnecessary penalties from their defense.
Well, he was telling his teammates the other day, hey, I remember the last 2 losses at the end of last year after Ty won that Heisman Trophy, and we played poorly down the stretch. This game means so much to me.
He had a key roughing the passer call against San Diego State in that 4th quarter that they survived also.
2nd and 15. Whoa. And out of bounds is John Falloon.
Very smart that time. 2nd and 15. The idea is to pick up half of it on 2nd down and put you in a position against their defense to either run the draw trap, or hit your passing game underneath to pick up the 1st down.
And there's Jeff Anila coming in to replace probably John Falloon. Anila was the guy who started the first 2 games this year, including the game against another WAC team, Hawaii.
Matt Rogers is so accurate with his throwing to his players, short passing. That's why he's so tough to defense. 2 receivers in, and Saunders flanked just like a receiver.
He's in the slot to the top of your screen. Rogers all kinds of time, finds his man, gets the 1st down near the 33-yard line. Jeff Anila, who just came in with just his 4th catch this year.
Well, they call them possession receivers at Iowa, but the guys are very shifty and understand where to go against the zone and pick up the ball. Patrick Mitchell, just a freshman, is playing the corner outside there. He just gave off way too much ground, and it was a very easy pitch and catch for Matt Rogers.
Gary, you were a quarterback with Cleveland, Purdue, the Detroit Lions. Would you rather face a man defense or a zone?
Well, if you have people that you know what's happening, whether it's man or zone, you really don't care. If you can tell before the snap, you can take advantage of each.
Rogers audibilizing. Clock's down to 1. He barely got it off. Kuyava past the 40 and up near the 1st down. Paul Kuyava, junior from Wisconsin. Closing moments of the first quarter here at San Diego Jack Murphy Stadium, where our score is the Iowa Hawkeyes 6, the Brigham Young Cougars 0. Mike Saunders with a 13-yard touchdown run. And Iowa trying to capture the Holiday Bowl for the 3rd time.
If you're trying to decide between a roomy Isuzu Trooper with incredible cargo space and the roomy Isuzu Rodeo with incredible passenger space, take your time. After all, at these prices, you can afford to be choosy. Isuzu, there's no comparison. Hurry, year-end factory-to-dealer incentives end December 31st.
Picture this. Great hair. And dandruff. It doesn't move you. Effective Dandruff Control Plus conditioning in one bottle. Dandruff Control Pert Plus. Dandruff shampoo plus a microbead conditioner. Leave hair soft and manageable without flakes. Picture this. Great hair. No flakes. That's a long-running hit. Dandruff Control Pert Plus. Soft, manageable hair, minus the flakes.
Each year, corporate America spends over $10 billion on overnight shipping. Yet, according to a report in the Wall Street Journal, $3 billion of that is wasted. If you find that kind of inefficiency alarming, call UPS. We can save you up to 40% on overnight deliveries and help prevent your profits from going up in smoke. UPS. We run the tightest ship in the shipping business.
Why fight the weather? Get to Sears and get a Craftsman half-horsepower garage door opener for only $139.99. But quantities are limited. So hurry to Sears today before you're left out in the cold.
It is from Kodak. It delivers the highest resolution, microfine grain, superior image structure for ultra-sharp detail. It is called Ektar. Ektar Film by Kodak. The genius is in the details. Ektar Film now comes in a new cartonless package in 25, 100, and 1,000 speeds.
For the battery that performs 3 times better than industry standards, you've got to get to Sears.
Out here, if you don't have a Die-Hard, you don't have a prayer.
Sears Die-Hard. More power when you need it most.
Who's going to back it better than Sears?
That's offensive coordinator Roger French talking with his offensive line about keeping that pressure off Ty Detmer. And Iowa's pressure has been the best in the Big Ten this year. It's a 2nd and 1 for Iowa's offense. Rogers is going for the home run. Single coverage for Hughes. He falls down and no flags. Patrick Mitchell, the man who was burnt so badly here 6 weeks ago by San Diego State.
That is a great read by Matt Rogers. He senses the strong safety blitz. He knows he's got man-to-man, and he throws the ball high. He likes his matchup. Hughes versus Patrick Mitchell. A little bit of interference there, no doubt. That ball is catchable, but he roughed him across the backside. Kind of maybe evened out for that Brian Wise one down on the other side of the field right there. That was interference. Mitchell got away with one there.
They need a yard. Lou Montgomery. Back. And he will get it and be stopped shy of a first down. Shad Hansen came hard from his right inside linebacking position along with 45 Rocky Beagle.
Yeah, Rocky Beagle and Shad Hansen are the beneficiaries again of the guys up front. Gomes, Pitts, Brock up there taking care of people, and then they hit it on the run full speed. Beagle and Hansen got that ball, and it looks to me like they're short.
Well, they'll bring the chains to see just how close they are. They still need a good foot.
Well, you got every offensive lineman for Iowa over there telling them to go for the first down. I think they probably should go for this. They've got a Big Ten offensive line right there, and if you can't make 6 inches, you're just going to have to depend on your defense.
Well, you know that fell on the other side from Odessa, Texas, is quite the gambler. Might he do a little play-action pass here again?
Well, it's a better play to go for it 4th and inches than fake a punt in this situation.
A little dig at the Michigan game, huh? 68% on 4th down this year. Rogers on the option. He's got it. Let's go down to Jerry Bunch.
Well, guys, the Washington Redskins have the Hogs. At Iowa, they're called the Baby Bulls, with a nickname for the offensive line. And that's the line that let that team finish 2nd in the Big Ten in total offense. Why are they called Baby Bulls? With the exception of Rob Baxley, the right tackle, they are all underclassmen, and they will all be back next year, which bodes well for the Hawkeyes. Back upstairs.
Yeah, particularly that man in the middle, Mike Devlin, who's awfully strong, just a junior, first-team All-Big Ten center. Saunders and Kuyab with the backs. Iowa dominating the game. First downs right now, 8-2. And there's Balloon. He's got the football at the 15-yard line. 40 yards on the play.
Matt Rogers obviously saw the San Diego State films when they were so successful in throwing the ball very high and letting your receiver go against Patrick Mitchell, just a freshman. You'll see this ball just put up for grabs, and Balloon just goes up and makes the grab and takes it away from Mitchell, who just doesn't find the ball fast enough and doesn't have the timing that a Balloon does right there. Good coverage, but doesn't come up with it.
Is that why they want the ball so high, because defensive backs can't find it as easily?
Well, I always say as a quarterback, if they could catch, they'd be on offense. They throw the ball to everybody. The guys that can't catch goes on defense.
Well, Falloon was a possession receiver. That was his longest catch of the year. Prior to that was 26. That one went for 40. And Lou Montgomery, you can hear the shouts of Lou all the way around Jack Murphy Stadium.
Very difficult situation for Patrick Mitchell, just a freshman. He's being asked to match up man-to-man with no help from the inside. And he's going all day like that. He's had to replace Paul Pitts and Urban Lee, a couple of people who were dismissed, who were outside cornerbacks. And Patrick Mitchell just 3 weeks ago was a number 4 cornerback. Tough game to put him man-to-man all night against these smart receivers from Iowa.
Well, he's got Falloon here on 2nd and 5. Hughes in motion. And there's the option. Rogers to the 5 and for the first down. Derwin Gray, number 5, brought down Matt Rogers.
It was an option play, but it's more of a keeper play. They blocked the end man on the line of scrimmage. Scott Giles, number 47, with the tight end. And Matt Rogers has scored 13 touchdowns on the ground the last 2 years. He always is a threat to run the ball or run past the ball from inside the 10-yard line.
And they have had plenty of first-team selections. These are the coach's selection. And you kind of question the fact that Rogers got the call over Elvis Grbac of Michigan.
Well, Elvis Grbac had a great year, but Matt Rogers is a great player also. Both of them outstanding, but I think Grbac had the better year.
Saunders leaning to the one. Did he get in? Yes, he did.
Now, here's the spot where I think they should go for 1 point. I don't like them chasing that 2-point play all game. There's nothing wrong with 13 points at this stage of the game.
Hayden Fry with a decision. You remember that Michigan game where he kept on going for 1 and wound up with 18 points, and the momentum slid back to Michigan.
Yeah, he kept going for 2 in that game and kept missing. And I really think there's nothing wrong with 13 points right here. Mike Saunders just picks his way through this. His feet moving laterally about as good as I've ever seen. He's strong, and he stretches that ball up across the line of scrimmage. They're going to go for 1 point.
And Skillett, who missed earlier, has this one true. Saunders with 2 touchdowns tonight. The Holiday Bowl leader is Iowa, 13-0 over Brigham Young.
When you play the game and you're looking good, there's a Bud Light way and it's understood.
If you're into looking good, get into Bud Light. The clean, fresh taste won't fill you up, never let you down.
You can taste it, feel it, know you got it right, because everything else is just a light. Just a light. Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. Just a light. Everything else is just a light.
On June 23rd, BMW introduced the completely redesigned 325i sports sedan. Reacted. Have you? The BMW 325i begins at $28,365.
This royal throne of kings, this happy breed of men, this earth of majesty, this little world.
The airline that's uniting the world. United brings you non-stop service from 6 U.S. cities to London's Heathrow and the land of poets.
This blessed plot. This earth, this realm, this England.
Come fly the friendly skies.
ESPN's presentation of the Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl, Iowa and Brigham Young is brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. To arrange a thorough test drive, simply phone your nearest BMW dealer. And by United, come fly the airline that spans more than half the world. Come fly the friendly skies. Mike Saunders, a star of the show thus far in the Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl. 2 touchdowns, and Iowa has a 13-0 lead. Saunders earlier went for 13. This one was from 5, but look at the drive, 89 yards. They've gone from 74 and 89, and Matt Rogers has been outstanding to start this game. Eric Mortensen out past the 25-yard line and fumbles the football, and Iowa has recovered. There is a flag down at the 40-yard line, but it was Iowa offsides.
Yeah, both sides called the play. I believe Iowa was offsides, a very tough mistake to make, a very undisciplined mistake to make on a kickoff. Really needless.
Ooh.
You can tell who he's mad with, not the officials either. That's an unforced error that is just drives coaches crazy.
You know, and Hayden Fry came into this game very concerned about Brigham Young because for the Big Ten, you know, his drive was to get back to the Rose Bowl, but he did not want to come in here against a very potent offense and embarrass himself.
Well, and actually, they're the only Big Ten team that's favored in a bowl game this year, and they want to win. They believe, obviously, that they could have been playing in a New Year's Day bowl. It's great here, but they're also looking at the type of ability to play on a New Year's Day against a Florida or in a blockbuster bowl where they could have played a higher-ranked team. That's what you're always looking to play, not where you play, but a higher-ranked team.
Last year they went to the Rose Bowl where they lost to Washington 46-34, and this year Washington will be taking on Michigan in the Rose Bowl, and they are the favorites in that contest. Again, on ESPN, we'll have an hour-long presentation of that entire New Year's Day extravaganza. So this time from the 30-yard line, and back deep again. Mortensen, number 27, and Brad Clark, number 31. Line drive. This should be a good return by Clark on the right sideline. Oh, good defense, though, by the Iowa Hawkeyes. Special teams. Porter comes up to nail his man at the 27-yard line. So they don't give up very much except that football in the way of yardage.
All right, let's go back to that touchdown. Mike Saunders gets credit for the touchdown, but let's give some salute here to Lou Montgomery, number 34. Look at that block on number 90, Lenny Gomes from BYU. That really springs Saunders in the ability to go in and get the 7 points. Great isolation block by the fullback.
Detmer dumps it off to his halfback, Tuipulotu, and Peter is up past the 35-yard line, about a yard shy of a first down.
You see Ty Detmer's going to get him at the line of scrimmage, and they're going with no huddle already in this football game. You get a little impatient when you fall behind and you know you have a powerful pass offense. They're going to try to keep Iowa out of the nickel this way.
Well, they made the first down, so excuse me, I thought they just had 9. They marked the football at the 37. Tuipulotu. And that is one of the plays they really like. That trap really worried Iowa.
It's the draw trap to Tuipulotu. Brian May, number 72, invites the guy come on the rush, and he comes across and kicks him out. If you watch BYU play in the last 10 years, you see it on every game film they have.
They slot out their halfback, Jamal Willis. Lone setback will be Tuipulotu. The call, not much running room this time. As the 2nd and 1. Gets him barely back to the line of scrimmage. And they may not measure this. They need about another foot for a first down. Lavelle Edwards finds himself down 13-0 with 11:13 to play in the first half. Brigham Young and Iowa.
Third down. You would like to say that it's important for them to score on this drive, but the way they score points, it really is just another series for them at this point in the game.
Third down, less than a foot. They give it to their halfback, Jamal Willis, first down and more. Inside the 43. An 11-yard run by Jamal Willis, just a freshman from Las Vegas.
On the tackle, Gary Clark.
Jamal Willis is a man. We were down on the field before the game. He's 6'3", 6'4", 205, 210 pounds, and he is going to be one of the great players that ever played at BYU. And he came here because he wanted to have a complete game. Learn how to pass block, learn how to run routes, and run the ball.
520 yards this year. What impresses you the most? A 6.1 average. Detmer back to the air. At the last moment, he throws it to Rex, who makes the catch, and then a flag is thrown. It was a late flag in the offensive backfield, so you wonder if it was a late hit on Detmer.
Well, I'll tell you, Ty Detmer just has a sense about him to be able to hold the ball to the last second. He knew it was man-to-man. The pre-snap look was there, and he waited, and Larry Blue from the right side is going to come and get him for a late hit. Actually, it was Hartley that got him from the backside, or was it Matt Hilliard? Yes, 48. Matt Hilliard is the guy who gets him. He throws the ball, and he lowers his head and drills him in the back. That isn't a personal foul. Blue ends up on top. But here's the throw. He has that sense. He knows how long he can let go of it. It isn't pretty, but watch where it gets. Right in stride to his tight end. Beautiful throw.
18 yards, and then you tack on the penalty. And Brigham Young has the football inside the Iowa 15-yard line. He'll go with the one-back set. And they give it to the one-back, Peter Tuipulotu, and he has it inside the 10.
It's almost BYU's version of the counter OT or counter tray that everybody else runs from the I. BYU is going to stay in a split backs because that's what they throw in. Every run comes off the same formation. That guy right there is calm on the outside, but believe me, on the inside, his competitive instincts are flowing right now. He knows it's important for them to get in the end zone this time.
Brigham Young, they've run the football 8 times in this game, and they are just about that. Well, 60-40 with the 60% pass. 2nd and 6. Detmer with time completes the pass to Tyler Anderson near a first down, but a flag is down. And he was really popped by Eddie Polly.
Well, he had plenty of time, and obviously we're going to get a holding call right here from that offensive line.
Holding on the offense.
But if he's able, Ty Detmer, able to stand in that pocket and look around like that, he always finds somebody. There you see it. Coming across, puts it right on the number, and here's the hit coming up. And this is something that Iowa has to do throughout this game, is tackle and not allow yards after the catch.
Ty Detmer's ball club has been penalized, and we showed you how many times, twice the amount that Iowa has been penalized this year, 50 to 102. And Iowa's coordinators speaking with their people as Brigham Young now has a 2nd and 19 from the Iowa 21. Detmer dumps it off to Jamal Willis, who gets it back near the 16-yard line. So it's a gain of 5. It'll be 3rd down and 14.
That's what's so frustrating about going against the sophisticated pass offense if you're Iowa. Outside backer came that time. They had a hot receiver to the back. He just dumps it off, and you force your inside linebackers to make plays on guys that are very skilled. What Iowa's doing that's great is their secondary people are finding that ball when it's thrown and coming out and helping those inside backers in that situation.
I mean, didn't Texas A&M last year sometimes rush 2, 3 people?
Absolutely, because they knew they had the ability to get to them. Blitz look from Iowa.
Detmer stepping up and cut down at the 25-yard line. Larry Blue, the junior from Hempstead, New York. And he may be the heir to Leroy Smith's sack crown next year.
Well, Larry Blue is going to get the sack from the left side. He's going to come around, but watch how long Detmer has to throw the ball right here. This is a coverage sack, and really he was fooled They showed blitz, but they came out of it and double covered his outside receivers. A great call by Bill Grazer, the defensive coordinator for Iowa that time.
So on comes Earl Kaufman for a 41-yard field goal attempt. And it is way short. Yeah, so Iowa holds on to their 13-0 lead.
I think they tipped it and got just a piece of it that time.
The Hawkeyes have reason to smile right now, but Brigham Young has fought back from further deficits than this, and Kaufman saying right there as he raced the sideline, somebody got a piece of it, and Detmer has to go back to the telephone.
Once again, BMW takes the luxury sedan where it's never been before. The 750iL with ASC plus T, automatic stability control plus traction. Every second, computers monitor wheel slippage and apply up to 100 engine and brake adjustments, helping keep the driver in control, proving the difference between an ordinary sedan and the ultimate driving machine.
You know, if you pay as much attention to your jump shot as you do trying to impress women.
Well, it's just this new shampoo. My hair comes out looking really good.
Shampoo?
Yeah, it's got a conditioner in it, right in the bottle.
Talked about this before.
What?
Look, all the conditioner in the world doesn't mean a thing the minute your dandruff shows up.
Ah, fear not, paranoid one.
For the first time ever, the world's leading dandruff shampoo comes complete with full-body conditioners. Introducing Head & Shoulders 2-in-1, making all your first impressions all the more impressive.
Need an extra car? Get ready. Call Thrifty for a roomy minivan to go. How about a fun weekend retreat? Get set. Call Thrifty for that weekend breather. Now you can use this credit card for Montgomery Ward car rental at participating Thrifty locations and in select Auto Express locations at Montgomery Ward. With Thrifty, you can leave it all behind, and you get away with paying less. Thrifty car rental, because it's your money.
Number 5, Carlos James, is going to be the one who gets his hand on this play. There's a push inside from those big guys. They run up and leap, and it looks like he just got his left hand on that ball, Steve, to get the block and save 3 points for Iowa.
You know, you remember last year when they had such a troubled time with special teams play at Iowa. This year, that's their 9th block. And Rogers goes back to work where he has been outstanding tonight, 9 of 11 through the air. And he's hit 6 different receivers. This time he goes to Mike Saunders, who has a short gain of 1 yard.
Let's go back and look at that 3rd down play one more time. You see the Iowa look right here. This is not what Ty Detmer has been getting. Everybody up, showing a man-to-man cut. But at the snap, they drop back and double coverage him. That's a coverage sack. They confused Ty Detmer and allowed Larry Blue to get in there and get the sack. That's what they have to do, create some doubt in the quarterback and give time for that rush to get in there.
Rogers may have to go back to the air here on 2nd down and 9. Detmer has visited with his offensive people upstairs to try and decode this Iowa defense. And Montgomery has a 1st down. Out past the 36-yard line. 11 yards in the play. They needed 9.
These two guys mesh so well. Lou Montgomery, who's an outstanding runner in his own right, and an outstanding blocker, and Mike Saunders. They both do so many good things in catching the ball short that they fit the type of offense that Iowa wants to run.
Montgomery, Saunders stay in the game.
They need a fullback that can block, and that's what Montgomery gives them.
Falloon and Hughes, the wide receivers. On play action. Rogers downfield to a wide open Hughes, but it's incomplete. And Hughes had Patrick Mitchell beaten badly. Is that Leroy Smith? Oh, man. Big Ten's Defensive Player of the Year is lying on the sideline. We're sending our Dr. Jerry Punch over to see what the problem is.
That just doesn't look good right there. A guy's got a towel over his head. Seems to be in a lot of pain.
Good rush in, and they will sack Matt Rogers here. The 2nd sack for Brigham Young in the game, and it's a second for Josh Arnold, who came on that strong safety blitz.
Josh Arnold is coming, and the back to that side is not accounting for him. He should be accounted for. Either Montgomery or Saunders should get him, and they're getting fooled to the outside. They should have taken that man. He is the most dangerous. He's the one that's coming first from the outside, and they have to account for him.
Well, let me ask you this. Now do you move away from the man defense and bring the nickel and play zone?
I don't think so, because that's all Brigham Young really knows how to do is play man and combo and get up there and make it happen. They know Matt Rogers is going to be patient, throw the ball underneath. They just got to keep doing what brought him here, man to man.
Let's see if they pick on Patrick Mitchell again. He's in single coverage with his man, but Rogers rolls the opposite way. Matt's going to run, and he's taken down about 9 yards shy of a first down. Tackled by David Kennard, the nickelback, who just came in.
Yeah, David Kennard comes in as the nickelback and plays the outside corner and made a good tackle. It's going to be short and force Iowa into a punting situation with still 5 minutes to go in the half. And if BYU can come and put some points on the board here before half, I think they'll have a real lift going into halftime.
Well, Lavelle Edwards has an outstanding punt returner in Brad Clark, 9th best in the nation, and he will send him to return this punt here by Jim Hyzak. Hyzak only about 10 yards behind the center. And he quick kicks it. Clark's going to have a chance at a return, but he's going to let it go out of bounds. Time out on the field. 4:43 to play in the first half. And Iowa with a pair of touchdowns for Mike Saunders, but hoping that Leroy Smith will get well soon. 13-0 leaders.
I've seen a lot of tractors in my time, but only one seems better than all the others. Yep, Kubota tractors. They're safe and easy to handle, and when it comes to hard work, a Kubota tractor can make mowing, tilling, loading, and
things are happening on Shap Talk.
We welcome you back to Jack Murphy Stadium. What may be a major blow for the Hawkeye cause tonight, senior defensive end Leroy Smith, sitting behind me on the bench, has strained ligaments in his right knee. He will play no more in the first half. They'll take him in the locker room at halftime, take a look at that knee, and then determine whether he will play any more tonight. But a big blow to the Hawkeye defense. Back upstairs.
You saw the number of sacks he provided Iowa this year, 18. I mean, the Iowa record was 36 sacks as a team prior to this season, and the Hawkeyes pulled off 60 in 1991. Detmer on play action. Had his man, Eric Grage, and he looked to run before he brought it in.
So far in the game right now, Rogers 9 for 12 for more yards, which is surprising. Matt Rogers has had the patience that Hayden Fry wanted to give from his quarterback early in this game to really keep the ball away from Ty Detmer. 7 for 11 is tremendous defense. The only people that have been able to slow him down to this amount this year was Penn State when they led, by only 3 points at halftime, but they shut down Detmer.
It's 2nd and 10. Tuipulotu, the lone setback. Detmer has his man, and he has some room. Nowatzki is inside the 40-yard line, and the man who is playing with that injured leg makes a fine catch, and Detmer hit him on the run for 43 yards.
What Ty Detmer here does is what veterans for 10 years in the NFL don't know. He looks off to his right and then delivers the ball to the left to the crossing man. That moved the defense away and got the ball to Nowatzki down the middle of the field. He's better at it than anybody I've ever seen in college football, and he's really what makes this offense go.
And we didn't expect Nowatzki to play because he has been injured lately. Otis Sterling in the game. He went in motion. Willis. Cut him down inside the 35-yard line. Brian Wise with the tackle, but this is the 3rd time that Brigham Young has been inside the 35-yard line, and they've come up empty. Rogers on the phone upstairs. Well, we've got top-ranked boxing coming your way Sunday, January 5th from Bally's Hotel Casino in Reno. It's Pedro Feliciano against Scotty the Bulldog Olson, and he is unbeaten at 19-0. Pedro, 9 losses. 2nd down and 8. for the Cougars. 3 minutes and 35 seconds now remaining first half. Quick pass to Byron Rex, and he makes the catch. He'll be shy of a first down by a couple.
Again, a hot receiver to the tight end this time. A sophisticated pass offense, knows how to get the ball out of the hand off the blitz. You'll see the two inside linebackers come. He pumps it to the tight end right behind him. That discourages the blitz because they come hard, they think they're going to get you, and you get it out of your hand, you deliver it right away. I'll tell you one thing that Ty Detmer knows. He knows the offense better than probably the coaching staff.
They need 3 for the first down. It's third down. And they give it right to Willis, and he looks to have it.
Willis gets the first down, and one of the great things that Roger French, offensive coordinator for BYU, does and takes advantage of with Ty Detmer is clock management. Now with about 2 minutes and 52 seconds to go, not only are they thinking about scoring, they're thinking about scoring and not giving Iowa a lot of time to come back and score. So clock management for a team that understands the nuances of a 2-minute drill is so impressive.
Well, they have 25 yards to go for that touchdown, and Iowa has a 13-0 lead. Detmer spins it off to Willis. Willis spins to the 20-yard line.
I tell you, just shake your head here, because I don't think the people on television can really see what a maestro he is of reading things as they're happening and getting rid of the ball. He drops back. That was supposed to be a 7-step drop, Steve. He saw the blitz, dumped it out to his man, and got a positive play on it. It really frustrates the defense, and it tires them.
2nd and 4. Sacked. John Hartley, the brother of Jim, a redshirt freshman.
Yeah, John Hartley, brother's a quarterback. Brother Chuck was a quarterback here in this Holiday Bowl also. He comes about number 76, Eli Herring, beats him with speed to the outside, and there's nobody going to get away from that one. Good pressure that time from the outside, and he's replacing Leroy Smith doing that job.
It's a loss of 8, so it'll make it 3rd down and 12.
Still understand he's got 2 downs. I think they'll go for it on 4th down.
Iowa comes hard, so Detmer steps up, completes the pass for the first down. Byron Rex is tight end.
You will see to the outside, this receiver right here cleared down, and Rex come down, feel the opening, and break to the outside, and the ball is delivered right on the money, right when it has to be. Outside receiver clears, the ball is fit in right into the zone. There he is, wide open. The ball comes, hits him right in the numbers, doesn't lead him in any coverage. Receivers love those types of passes.
So they complete the 3rd and 12, and now they have a 1st and goal. Detmer, quick pass, touchdown, Brigham Young. Peter Tuipulotu.
Tuipulotu, a back coming out of the end zone. Watch Ty Detmer. He knows this is a delay. He's acting on this one. He knows who he's going to before the snap. He gives it to his fullback, breaking into the end zone. 6 or possibly 7 points.
And it's wide to the left side.
Yeah, it looked like a fumbled snap there on the holder that time. I don't know if the snap was low, but it looked like there was a little bit mess up.
So Ty Detmer has brought his team back. He came into this game with 121 career touchdowns. He has just thrown another in the Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl to pull Iowa or Brigham Young to within 7.
Ty Detmer knows he's going to the check down back on a delay route. He was looking left just to look out the defense. Boom, into the end zone. As pretty a play as you'll ever see. Tuipulotu right there. He gets to him across the middle. Now look how well he throws the ball. Doesn't have to break stride. He catches it on the run, which all the great quarterbacks do. Give you the ball on the run.
He sure is impressing me. And so is Matt Rogers, but Tuipulotu who has been his main go-to guy out of the backfield this year with 41 catches. You just saw a 78-yard drive that Lavelle Edwards engineered in 3:51.
I think that's why we talked about. Go ahead, Steve. You got something?
Okay. We've got Tim Brando coming up with Lee Corso and Craig James at halftime with a bowl blitz, including Gary. A look at the Big Ten in the Midwest. A conversation with Ty Detmer and a look at this first half of our Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl. 13-6. Iowa has the lead on Brigham Young. You were saying?
I'm too excited. I'm just going to watch this game.
Jasper. Smothered at the 22-yard line. He has 47 seconds to work with, and Iowa will get the football.
What you'll see right here is the Iowa people drop it off the zone. Remember, they've gotten beat man-to-man. Here's Tui Peloto over here hiding, and he's going to check down into the middle. Detmer knows he's got him right there. Bang, he gets the ball into the end zone. A design play, a called play. There was no read there. It was a called delay to the fullback. The other nice thing, Steve, what I was going to say is 47 seconds left. Not a lot of time for Iowa to come back. Great clock management.
Hawkeyes do have all 3 of their timeouts left. One setback for Matt Rogers. And he'll throw and complete the pass near the 30-yard line. It was John Falloon again.
Good tackle that time by Crutchfield. Came up, made the tackle, and didn't allow Falloon to get out of bounds.
He was all over you down on the field. He said, Gary, my man, could you give a special message? We'll do it now.
Say hi to my mom, Connie. Tony Crutchfield said he gave me some good stats of what's going to happen out there, so hi, Mom. Tony Crutchfield said, say hi to Connie.
Pasadena, California. 2nd and 3. The pass is caught by Danon Hughes. He makes a pretty move around Patrick Mitchell. And flags come flying all over the place. A gain of 13 in the play. The clock's down to 8 seconds. Let's see if there's a face mask.
Inadvertent face mask, I believe, is what it is.
Face mask, 5 yards on the defense. Added on to the end of the run. First down.
Patrick Mitchell's going to come. Danon Hughes makes a little move to the inside. He grabs anything he can. Happens to be the face mask that time. Keeps him in bounds.
You know, Patrick Mitchell's really going to be a good cornerback. He was the WAC Outdoor 110-meter hurdles champion. But when Irvin Lee and Paul Pitts were suspended, he had to come in that San Diego State game. You see Alan Cross going inside of the 35-yard line, but that will be the final play of this first half. Mitchell needs to come out and play a terrific second half. Brigham Young finds himself down by 7 at the half. Hayden Fry's Hawkeyes 13-7 over the Brigham Young Cougars. This is the 14th annual Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl. Back with halftime and Tim Brando after this.
On June 23rd, BMW introduced the completely redesigned 325i sports sedan. The press has...
Big Ten Conference, Leroy Smith going out with a knee injury. And we talked to Dr. Jerry Punch before the ball game with Hayden Fry.
Coach, your team played awfully well in the first half.
Well, we're doing a good job defensively. I think we've got them a little bit confused, but being the All-American that Detmer is, I'm sure they'll come back and make some adjustments the second half.
Concerned over Leroy Smith's injury?
Oh, well, you never know about Leroy. You nearly have to cut a leg off to keep Leroy off the field, but we'll be okay.
Coach, thanks for joining us.
There he is, Leroy Smith, 6'2", 214, 18 sacks this year, and Ty Detmer told us earlier this week that we match up very evenly with the Iowa football team with the exception of Leroy Smith, so that will certainly be a story in the second half. Well, the city of San Diego very excited about the upcoming America's Cup, so they have a special celebration here at the Holiday Bowl, and let's now go down on the field with our ESPN broadcaster of the America's Cup, Gary Jobson. Jerry Punch is down on the field with Cougar coach.
Coach, the first half, a pretty even half. That score just before the half, a big one for you.
It was a big one for us. The only thing I was disappointed in was our inability to score. I, felt like before the game, one of the keys to us, we had to score when we were in position, and we didn't, and that hurt us.
Your defense, although giving up 13 points, they've played awfully well.
They have played. They played hard, and they've hanging in there, and, they've made some plays when they've had to, and hopefully if we can just take this opening kickoff and drive it on down and score and get back into the ball game, then I think we'll be in good shape.
Thanks, Coach. Let's go back upstairs to Steve Pizzion. Steve?
Brigham Young with only 7 points in the first half. That ties the fewest points in the first half they've had this year. Just the 6 total by Brigham Young. Now, Iowa got on the scoreboard early on Mike Saunders' 13-yard run.
Yeah, Mike Saunders going to take the play from the I-back formation right there, and he beats Derwin Gray. He's got a great ability to be running right at you and then break to the outside without even slowing down. He's got wide receiver moves as a running back. Ty Detmer, though, gets him back. Left side of your screen, too. Piloto's going to delay, come out. Detmer knows he's going to him all the way, dumps him the ball. They score with 50 seconds to go in the half. They mix the extra point, but they're in position now 13-6 where anybody can win this game.
Taking a look at those first half stats, Iowa with 13 first downs. The passing yardage is rather even, but Brigham Young with that last long drive taking over there. And the time of possession rather even, but as Lavelle Edwards said at halftime, hey, we did not take advantage of those 2 early possessions.
Absolutely. They got the field goal blocked, and they were turned it over on downs on a 4th and short yardage situation, the keys to this football game.
And the fog is not rolling in here at San Diego Jack Murphy Stadium. They had a fireworks display at the end of the halftime, and so it is pretty cloudy down there. Here's the kickoff.
It's going to be a stealth kickoff.
Here you go. Brad Clark out near the 20-yard line. We begin second half action. Saunders with 2 touchdowns in the first half. Tui Pilotu with the other. And it's 13-6 Iowa. Brigham Young getting the football to start this second.
Well, let's check first of all if Leroy Smith is going to work his way back out on the field right here. A real big key in the game, or will they have to go with John Hartley, just a freshman, substituting for him? It appears like it's Hartley who's going to be back in the game. Smith has not come back out on the field.
They're going a 3-down lineman, and you wonder if the right guard moved, because coming across very quickly was an Iowa defensive tackle.
Yeah, it looked like Brian May, number 72, is the guy who came out of his 3-point stance that time. Iowa was very confused. They didn't know where they were lining up.
Illegal procedure on the offense, 5 yards, repeat first down.
So like they did the first time they had the football, they made a penalty which pushed Ty Detmer's Cougars inside the 15. He has it inside the 15 again. Jamal Willis will get the start. Young has been strong on first down, and Detmer's going downfield. Byron Rex cannot make the catch at midfield.
A quarterback who distributes the ball around the field wants to get it and keep the defense defending the whole field, both depth and width-wise. Look how Detmer is throwing the ball around. And the curls, 4 for 4. Those are those crossing routes that he's hit his receivers coming across. But look, he's thrown the ball into every segment of the field, and that's what makes the defense spread out and open those holes.
Needs one of those deep ones right now. He needs 15 yards on second down. 4 times he's gone to his big tight end, Byron Rex. He'll rush 4. And the throw is complete to the 19-yard line to Tyler Anderson, a sophomore from Orem, Utah.
Iowa that time comes in with the second down nickel. John Derby stays in there, makes the play, but the pass is put to the right side of the receiver again, so he doesn't lead him into traffic. Tyler Anderson gets the catch and doesn't get a headache. That's what a great quarterback can do. Anderson comes over and gets the play and runs back in.
Brigham Young really felt they were evenly matched up with Iowa's defense, with the exception of that one man, Leroy Smith. He is on the sideline with strained knee ligaments. 3rd and 11. No blitz. Detmer. Here's his man there for the first down? Yes, he is.
Well, they got two spots there, right there.
Yeah.
You can see the two officials. One guy puts his foot on the right side of the line, upfield, and the other guy puts it downfield. Now, it's at the Iowa bench, so you know the coaches from that side are going to help, and you can see Ty Detmer come running across to help on the play.
Yeah, he did not like the spot at all.
You're going to see both officials come over here and give a spot on this play. Play is caught. One official puts it on one foot on one side, the other foot on the other. Now watch this guy upfield move and says, uh-oh, you might be right. Let's see who wins this one. And that's what upset Ty Detmer on that play. And a matter of inches, you know, it looks like
they got the first down.
Very fortunate there. Two officials spotted different, and Fry just shaking his head.
Let's go down to Dr. Jerry Punch.
It's a great night here in San Diego. We've had the great one, Wayne Gretzky, and how about Dennis Conner, a four-time America's Cup winner. And Dennis, this city just can't get any more excited about this upcoming 92 Cup.
Well, it's not far away now, and it's nice to take a break from the preparation and get out here and have some fun.
Pretty confident the elimination rounds will start early in January?
Well, there's never enough time, but we're going to do the best we can with what we have, and this is America. Somehow things will work out.
Dennis, thanks for joining.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Dennis Conner down here on field side, back upstairs.
The catch is made by Eric Drage on first down, and he's out past the 35-yard line, gain of about 6 yards. Eric Drage, what a receiver he was this year, 46 catches, 1,018 yards, and they said the problem with him, he wasn't that fast, but he averages 22 yards per catch.
Yeah, and he really was counted on to only be their third receiver this year. Nadi Valdez, number 5, and Bryce Dolman both got hurt, broken collarbones, scoring touchdowns. So Eric Drage has emerged as the leading receiver. He's averaging 22 yards a catch.
2nd and 3. He goes left again. This time it is well short of the mark, as good coverage came from Carlos James.
Good coverage by James, a decent route, and that's what you really question when you look at Ty Detmer. Can he throw that sideline route from across the field? My experience has been, Steve, is that it's tougher to throw in college than it is in pro, because you move those hashes in and both sidelines become a little bit closer to you, and you don't have that across the field throw to that far sideline. He should be able to have that out pass a little easier in pro ball.
Brigham Young have outscored their opponents big time in the third quarter. The catch is made by Jamal Willis, but he will be
he got
inches shy, and
he got a terrible spot on that play right there. He was beyond the line and got tackled and pushed back. You can see how upset Ty Detmer is. He's the type of quarterback that sees everything happen. Willis goes beyond the line of scrimmage. He knew he had to go across the line, and he got pushed back on the catch. That's a bad spot, and he's upset with it.
You know, what I thought was interesting, there were 2 other members of the Cougar team arguing with the official. Ty pushed them both away, and then he continued the argument.
Well, he saw it, and he probably carries more weight than anybody else. Watch Willis catch this ball across the line and get pushed back. This was how I saw it as it happened. Let's take a look at it. He's going to come out from the right bottom of your screen. He crosses the 40, and he gets pushed back to the 39. A very poor spot. Good tackle by Derby, but it should have been a first down.
Brigham Young with a decision here. They need just inches for the first down. Will they bring on Earl Kaufman? Iowa's offense is to near impossible to stop, and they will go for it.
Well, this is the toughest thing they have, these short yardage type of situations.
Detmer to Willis. Well, I think he got the lean.
Yeah, no doubt. Jamal Willis has gotten the passes and starting to throw the ball. San Diego State, he got eight catches for 163 yards. He scored 3 touchdowns. Before the San Diego State game, Jamal Willis only caught 2 passes. The reason? He's just now learning how to get involved in the passing attack. Here, the big guy, 6'3", 205, gets up in the air and lunges out to pick up a big first down for BYU. Iowa playing very sound zone defense, making things happen in front of them, but the precision of the BYU offense is really starting to take hold here.
From the 41, Iowa has a 13-6 lead, 12:06 remaining in this third quarter. They blitz one, and that man is going to wrap up Ty Detmer. Jeff Nelson came from the right side tackle and brought down Ty Detmer.
Good coverage again. Let's give credit to the outside. 5 people come this time, and Jeff Nelson is going to get him on the rush inside. He got blocked at the line of scrimmage, but Nelson, the junior, who was a starter and now is backing up, gets his 7th sack of the year. He had 6 in Big Ten play this year.
Second down and 15. Iowa's 3 sacks. To the 45, and he skips for a couple more.
And you can see on the sidelines, if we could get a shot of that time, Hayden Fry telling his defensive backs to wrap him up. One of the keys to this football game, Hayden Fry told us, was they had to tackle and not allow yards after the catch. Grab the guy, make a tackle, don't allow those positive yards. Drage got an extra 4 yards by just sticking that hand out through sloppy tackling.
So instead of that 3rd and 7,
yes,
it's right now a 3rd and 3.
Illegal substitution right there. They've got to call timeout. Does he still have time to get the? He sure does. Boy, he is cool.
Oh,
the whole bench was signaling timeout.
4 seconds. He gets it off with 2 to go. And he finds his man for the first down. You know, that was one of the great things that his offensive coordinator, Roger French, said. He said he not only knows what he's supposed to do, he knows what everybody else in the field is supposed to do as well.
Guy runs on late. He tells him what to do. You see Brian Rex that time come inside, faked across the field, stop, and come back. What was so amazing is, you know, Ty looked over the sideline. The whole bench was signaling timeout, including Lavelle Edwards. He just said, don't worry, I know I got time to get this thing off.
And he gets the first down on a crucial 3rd and 3. Drage in motion. Detmer option. Jamal Willis. He has the first down. Scott Blake knocked him out after a gain of 11.
What's going to happen now is it's going to force Iowa to do some things they don't want to do. Play more man-to-man defense, blitz a little bit. Without Leroy Smith to put the pressure there, they're going to have to move up a couple steps, blitz Ty Detmer, because he's just picking them apart with this soft zone look that he's seeing right now.
You thought that when they disguised defenses early in the game, it might confuse him, but as the game progressed, he might adjust to it a little better.
He notices the nuances better than anybody I've ever seen.
On the delay, draw, they give it to Tuipulotu, who has no gain, and John Derby makes this stop.
John Derby, the All-Big Ten linebacker, number 31 right there, is going to read the draw this time, wait for it, and grab just anything he can, which is the shoelaces, and gets a big tackle. The leading tackler for the Hawkeyes, John Derby's had a great career for Iowa right there.
Well, Tuipulotu, who came into this game averaging 5 yards per carry, is averaging 2, and there's John Derby, the captain of this football team, from Wisconsin, and his brother played up there, but John Derby said, I wanted to go make my name somewhere else.
Yeah, it's got to be tough on the Wisconsin fans. They got John Derby on one side and Rocky Beagle, another Wisconsin guy playing linebacker, and the leading tackler for BYU on the other defense.
Must be John Derby's son. There's John Derby.
Well, why, was he hitting somebody while he was standing right there?
My dad is number 31.
That gives it away. John Derby, a real student of the game, stays in on nickel, calls all the signals, and has really been the leader of this football team for 2 or 3 years.
It is 2nd down and 10 yards to go. Clock winding inside 9:45 in the 3rd quarter when Brigham Young gets his play off. He'll go to his short receiver and get Peter Tuipulotu. Tuipulotu sneak past the tackle and is close to a first down. Let's go down to the field and talk with Director Jerry Bunch.
Gentlemen, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, Leroy Smith, standing behind me in plain clothes back there. He's moved up to the front of the bunch. He has a brace on his right knee. He has strained knee ligaments. He will play no more tonight. The doctors have examined his knee and determined it would be too much of a risk for the young man to play tonight. He will go back to Iowa City, be examined tomorrow. He should be okay for a pro career, but a tough night for a great young ball player. And guys, a minute ago when he came out of the locker room, he had tears streaming down both cheeks. Back upstairs.
Iowa without the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. Must go against one of the most potent offenses in the country. And Brigham Young on a 3rd and 1 appears to have gotten that first down. Leroy Smith, 18 sacks, a Big Ten record. And he made them a special defense.
As he emerged, the Iowa defense emerged late in the second half of the year to make them one, a number 7 ranked team in the country. They became playing defense as good as they can. There you see them, 3 possessions, 1 TD. Key to the game so far.
Jamal Willis. Willis with some sneaky moves inside the 16-yard line where Scott Plate makes the tackle. But New Year's Day is decision day in the college football season. All the showcases coming your way. You can look for those bowl matchups before the first kickoff in an hour-long college game day. That's at 10:30 Eastern time on ESPN. What's next for Dennis Erickson? Hey, the Peach Bowl will be on ESPN on New Year's Day. Immediately following that show, with East Carolina going against North Carolina State. Great rivalry. 16th play of the drive. Detmer to the end zone. And incomplete. His man was well covered.
Threw that one away, no doubt about it. Got it out there where nobody could catch it. Teed up again on 3rd down. Iowa is doing a very nice job of making Ty Detmer go the long way. One thing defensive coordinator Bill Brazier said is you talk about one-on-one matchups. There you see Hayden Fry. You talk about one-on-one matchups. One-on-one matchups inside the line. Ron Gator, Rod Davis, Maria Crane, Mike Wells. They've got to come through and beat their man and put some pressure inside on Ty Detmer.
Detmer on this drive, 70%. Here he's got a 3rd and 6. And the pressure on. Detmer unloads. Incomplete. And Brigham Young will be forced to go for 3. But look at that. As he got up, he patted the Iowa defender on the back and said, good defense.
7 guys come this time and they fool him. He doesn't realize it's a blitz until after it comes. No pre-snap read. He didn't know before the snap. Watch him get rid of this ball. I've never seen anybody be able to throw the ball on the run, right or left, as quickly as he can.
Well, it will not be Earl Kaufman to kick. Instead, Keith Lever. And Keith Lever will be wide to the left side. So 2 field goals have been missed by Brigham Young by 2 different players, and Iowa holds on to their 7-point lead. It's 13-6 Iowa, 7:45 to go 3rd.
Your attention, ladies.
There's no distinction between car and driver in the Volkswagen Jetta. They are one. A oneness we call Fahrvergnügen. It's the way the car responds to your every move with remarkable precision and control. The way its German engineering translates into genuine driving pleasure. Not every car company can promise that. In fact, there's only...
Wonder what's going on here. It must be a Republican party.
Cordon Negro Brut and Extra Dry by Freixenet. There's a party in every bottle.
Pick up line 2. I need that fire now. Line 4. Find the blueprint. There's the architect. Sell! Buy! Short the market!
The power to put it all behind you. To kiss all the stress, all the stomach-churning headaches of business goodbye. That's the power of United. That's the power of the friendly skies.
ESPN's presentation of the Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl, Iowa and Brigham Young, is brought to you by Volkswagen. Enjoy the unique European driving experience called Farvenuggen, only in a Volkswagen. By Freshenet. Make your holiday season sparkle. There's a party in every bottle of Cordon Negro Brut or Extra Dry Freshenet. And by ESPN Home Video, producers and distributors of fantastic football plays, available at video and retail stores nationwide. Steve Pizziak, Gary Danielson at the Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl. The Hawkeyes leading at 13-6. Mike Saunders has scored a pair of touchdowns. Peter Tuipulotu with a catch of a China Detmer pass. And that's all the scoring we have. Lou Montgomery, the lone setback for Iowa. And Rogers to the air, completes the pass for the first down to John Falloon. Well, Hayden Fry told us earlier this week, do you know who Matt goes when he's in trouble? John Falloon.
Well, I'll tell you, we talk about Ty Detmer, but having just as effective game tonight is Matt Rogers, and he's doing it by understanding what Hayden Fry wants him to accomplish. He wants ball control and controlling the clock with the pass. And there you see him throwing the ball short, hasn't missed one short, and he's taken time off the clock and moved the chains with accurate passing. A great game plan, and Matt Rogers is running it to perfection.
Falloon now with 5 catches for 77 yards. That one went for 16. Going deep for Lou Montgomery, or rather Mike Saunders. And you can see why, because that guy was a wide receiver last year and a very special one, and they sent him one-on-one against a linebacker, but the pass too long.
Rocky Beagle this time is going to play man-to-man coverage. He's got Saunders, who used to be a wide receiver, and he's going, oh my God, please don't throw this one right on the money. And he got some help from Patrick Mitchell. He's running as fast as he can, and he knows he's got no chance if that ball's thrown accurate.
You go, uh-oh.
He's going,
holding on the offense, 10 yards, spot of the foul, repeat, first down.
Now Rocky's gone. I had him all the way.
I was just baiting him.
Rocky Beagle, inside linebacker, 192 tackles this year.
Let me give you a great stat on this guy. He was the high school state wrestling champ 2 years in a row. His senior year, he pinned every guy.
97 pins. First and 24. Rogers looking to escape. No! At the 11-yard line. Josh Arnold, his 3rd sack.
BYU gambles again. They bring 8 people. Josh Arnold, the strong safety blitz. You're going to see him come from the right part of your screen. Matt Rogers feels it. He'll spin out. But the speed, here comes Josh. Dive, wrap him up, and he can't get rid of the ball. He's just tired right there. What a play.
So what do you do now on 2nd and 38? Arnold's coming out. He waved off the extra defensive back who was coming on because of his exhaustion.
Right now, you got to think of getting in position to punt the ball further down the field.
David Henderson, number 10, comes on for Arnold. And they'll hand the ball off to Lou Montgomery, who is stopped at the line of scrimmage. Maybe gets a yard, but that's all. It's 3rd and 38.
What BYU has to be careful of here right now is they're not going to pick up 38 yards. You don't want a silly penalty and give them a free first down right now. Make them catch it in front of it or run the draw in front of you. Take the ball back. It doesn't make any difference to Ty Detmer if he gets the ball back at the 50 or the 40-yard line. He's still in perfect field position.
Well, it was about this time in the San Diego State game. Brigham Young was down 45-17, and they came back to tie the game at 52 all. So they are never out of a contest. They're only down by 7 to Iowa. It is 3rd and 34. And they'll run the ball again to Saunders. He's at the 15. That's it. Josh Arnold came right back in there. He's been our defensive player of the game so far.
Well, he's been the defensive player of the game because he's playing the right position tonight. Strong safety blitz, nobody's blocking him from the outside. Nothing against Josh Arnold. He's had a great game. But when you come on touch from the outside, you have to make the play. But we haven't had the number of points we both thought and everyone thought in this football game. Defenses have played it well and kept the other team a little bit off balance with the blitz so far.
Scott to block of the punt. And it's a terrible punt going out of bounds inside the 45-yard line. It's interesting how Hyzak only lines up 10 yards behind the line. And it's 13-6 Iowa.
So I'm doing my sound check.
Hello, hello, hello.
And I hear this woman's voice.
Crunch that last chord. I'll show you.
She grabbed the guitar.
And then she started rocking. No, I mean rocking.
You're pretty good. Not.
Someone that hot deserves something this cold. Suddenly, I remember this was a bud spot.
I like your style.
Most car companies make a distinction between a car and its driver. But in the Volkswagen Passat GL, they are one. One in the precision and control of its responsiveness. The way German engineering translates your every move. In short, it's the unique coming together we call Fahrvergnügen. And that's where we make our distinction.
It's Sears' biggest fitness sale. Walk, jog, or run with this 1 1/4 horsepower Lifestyler treadmill with auto incline and save big. Introductory price, just $499.99. Hurry, offer ends soon at Sears.
To me, there's nothing better than winning a Super Bowl or a NASCAR race. That's why Interstate's my kind of battery. Get an Interstate battery from automotive service, repair, and parts centers everywhere and win with Interstate.
This is the Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl in San Diego, California, and the Brigham Young players trying to get their fans involved, and right now they are. Go Cougars are down by 7, but Brigham Young has the football in their best starting field position. They're down by 7. Detmer will throw on first down, and it's broken up beautifully by Brian Wise, the strong safety. Let's go to Tim Brando.
About 100 miles north of you, Steve Physiak, it's the Freedom Bowl. And on the ground, Ron Jackson, 112 yards, 6 of them right here to make it 14-7 Golden Hurricane. 2:15 until halftime at the Big A.
Well, we saw earlier that San Diego State had that 7-0 lead, and they have great speed in that terrific offense. Their quarterback, 576 yards against Brigham Young 6 weeks ago. And that 52-52 time. Here on second down, Ty Detmer will be sacked back near midfield. Jeff Nelson with his second sack of the game. Number 93, he's playing a strong contest. He and Mike Wells are playing in there along with Ron Gator.
That's the type of a situation where you're going to give credit to the secondary again, but Jeff Nelson just beat his guy one-on-one. We always get concerned with one-on-one matchups between wide receivers and defensive backs, but there's those one-on-one matchups in the line play that are just as important.
Come on, D!
It's 3rd and 14. Jamal Willis back in with Peter Kiukalupu. Brigham Young has been strong on third down situations. Detmer rolling away from the pressure. And again, the fine defensive play by Brian Wise, the big, physical, strong safety who goes 6'2", 215.
Well, Brian Wise knocked down the first pass of the drive, and he just knocked down the last pass of this drive. A great stop by the Iowa defense. He had man-to-man defense coming across on the tight end, and he's able to time this. He comes across, he reads it. Now watch, his right hand's going to stay on his back a little bit, and his left hand just tips the ball away. Beautiful play. If he'd have missed it, he'd been able to grab him and yank him down.
On 4th down, Harold Jasper standing at his 10, awaiting the punt from Earl Kaufman. Jasper will let it go inside the end zone. So Iowa will get the football at the 20-yard line. 3:23 remaining in the 3rd quarter. The Hawkeyes up on the Cougars 13-6. How popular popular as that man in the state of Utah? Well, they absolutely love him. They say, heck with the Heisman, Ty Detmer for president. Probably do a pretty good job.
Get the electoral votes there, won't he?
Matt Rogers to Danon Hughes, who has not had many catches in this game. Coming up on ESPN, a triple header this Tuesday. South Florida against Cincinnati. That's a 7:30 Eastern time game. Then Fordham against Southwest Missouri State, who was always strong in their conference. And Murray State against Arkansas State. That's midnight Eastern time. Right here on ESPN. A Tuesday night triple header.
There you see Hayden Fry visiting with Carl Jackson, passing coordinator for Iowa, offensive quarterback coach. Those two work together. Hayden Fry calls the plays, but he's wired up to those guys and gets suggestions from them.
After a gain of 9, they need 1, and they'll get it with Saunders carrying the football. Mike Saunders went for 40 yards rushing the first possession. He has not run the football that much the rest of this game.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was going to get to. They need to go back to this running game, keep them off balance with the short pass, and take advantage of Saunders and Lou Montgomery. I think they can outman these guys if they bring the ball right at them.
I think it's time to play old Big Ten football smash mouth.
Well, I think Hayden Fry would like that right now. BYU is gambling and putting an extra guy up there, but I really think they can run the ball if they're patient.
3 minutes remaining, third quarter. They're going to go back to the air, complete the pass. And Falloon is just hog-tied by Tony Crutchfield. But Falloon has yet another catch. He has 6 on the evening.
There you see the mutual respect. Both guys know it's going to be played hard but clean, coming up and getting them and pulling them back. I really like how they're coming out now, Iowa, on this drive. They're going to throw the ball short. They know it's man-to-man coverage out there on those corners. Matt Rogers is throwing the ball so accurately in this football game that Hayden Fry has to have confidence in him that they can move the football down the field with the short pass and the powerful running game.
Falloon, you saw him over the Hayden Fry, has 6 catches now for 84 yards. That one for 8, so it's 2nd and 2. And they give it to Montgomery, who gets the first down and more as it gets past midfield. Rocky Beagle on the tackle, a gain of 10.
That's exactly what I was talking about right there. That time Josh Arnold, number 20, the strong safety, came on the blitz. 8-man came, but when you run the ball, you take advantage of a very powerful offensive line, split it in there, and you can pick up first downs. I think Iowa has found the type of a game plan that they're comfortable with. There you see first down passing. That's as good as you can get. 9 out of 10. A great stat for Matt Rogers, running the offense and being patient.
Well, he's got a first down right here. And a blitz is on. Rogers rolling away from it. He's now 10 of 11 on first down as Hughes makes the catch and goes out of bounds after a gain of 4, maybe 5 yards.
Actually, Matt Rogers has given the BYU defense a little taste of what it's like to play against Ty Detmer. He gets back into the pocket. This time he rolls away from it. He feels it. Good call by the offense that time. They take out the feet from Rocky Beagle, number 45, and he throws going to his left on the run.
There he is, Matt Rogers. When his dad was coach of the Boston Celtics, he used to play horse against Larry Bird, and I said, did you ever get an H or an O? And he said, I never got a letter. But I learned how to play with the greats. They may have lost a yard as Montgomery is trying to get back to the line of scrimmage, and Chad Hansen, who was their tackle leader this year with 193, came up from his inside spot to make the stop.
A little bit of a counter action that time. Faked the ball one way and came back, but Hansen penetrated, and that's really what is a little bit different from this defense than a defense that Iowa's been seeing all year, is the linebackers for BYU is trying to make tackles in the backfield.
50% on third downs, and they've got a 3rd and 6 with 1:12 to go in the third quarter. The Hawkeyes lead by 7. Kuyava's in the game. He's a good receiver out of the backfield. Rogers with time, loops it, and it's knocked down by Crutchfield.
What happened right near the Iowa bench that time, Matt Rogers knew he had man-to-man coverage, but Tony Crutchfield got his eye on the ball and was able to get his hand on it the last second. I think that's what keyed it, not getting the pass interference call, is he was able to swat that ball away. The pressure from that bench came. He feels the pressure. Now watch Matt just lay it to the side. He knows he's got man-to-man. Let's see if there's any bumping right there. No, I think that's a legitimate call right there. And good job by Crutchfield to find the ball.
So Rogers has to go to the sideline as Hyzak comes on to punt the football to Brad Clark, who stands at his 10. And Clark fair catches at the 12. So Ty Detmer must take his team 88 yards for a tying touchdown. We showed you the career numbers of Detmer, 121 touchdowns. Career for Matt Rogers with the 39 and over 6,500 yards.
Well, they don't obviously run the same type of offense, and Matt Rogers is doing what he's asked to do there. But the thing that's impressing me about Matt Rogers when you watch him is he got better every year. You just don't look at passing yards for Matt, and he was hurt a couple games this year. You look at what he was able to do running the ball, scoring touchdowns for him, and playing on 4th down. He's one of the best at it.
And now it's Detmer's turn. He goes to Jamal Willis, who breaks free out near the 20-yard line. With a gain of near 6 yards for Jamal Willis. Jason Dumont with the tackle. Detmer, well, check that out. 15,031 yards. The only quarterback in NCAA history to throw for over 4,000 yards in 3 straight years. And he had that incredible season last year. He threw for 41 touchdowns and over 5,100 yards and won the Heisman Trophy. On 2nd and 4, they give it to Tuipulotu, and Peter is up near the 30-yard line for a 1st down. Well, that will be the final play of this 3rd period. So we go into the final 15 minutes of college football after they move the chains, with Iowa holding on to a 13-6 lead. Detmer has already looked to the sidelines. Now they move the clock. And we close out the 3rd quarter here in San Diego, California, with Hayden Fry's Hawkeyes holding on to a 13-6 lead.
Reach for the stars.
They have really changed your style. They're running more now on 1st down.
Yeah, real interesting here. Here you see Robbie Bosco just in front of Lavelle Edwards, the great former BYU quarterback. And he said he'd be surprised if he wasn't able to run the ball against Iowa. 71 yards is not what he expected. I think he would have liked to have a little bit more, but this drive, they're really starting to get off.
Detmer changing the call. He has plenty of time. Goes to Jamal Willis, and Willis has the 1st down. Let's check in with Tim Brando.
They're at halftime in Anaheim, but prior to halftime, David Lowry calls his own number, his 4th rushing touchdown of the year on the quarterback draw. That would tie the game at 14. We welcome those of you that have been watching that at halftime. That's that game score. Let's check in on our game.
Thank you, Tim. 4th quarter, 13-6. Iowa with the lead, but Brigham Young moving. Detmer looking to escape. He's back and sacked at the 48-yard line. That's 5 sacks in the night, and the 2nd for John Hartley.
Also, Teddy Joe Faley, number 49, put pressure from the inside, and Hartley did not allow the scramble to the outside. Good understanding of what was going to have to be done. Hartley puts the pressure on, and Faley comes to the outside to keep Detmer in the pocket. You see how upset he is. That's a great job of understanding what the defense is trying to accomplish, is keep him in the pocket and put pressure on him. Very well coached and very well disciplined.
Loss of 12, 2nd and 22. Hartley's coming hard again. Slow him down. And Detmer racks. No! What a great play twice by Teddy Joe Faley, the inside linebacker.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll bet BYU has not had that many passes deflected against Ty Detmer all year. Iowa's just playing outstanding zone defense. You'll see him come back right here. He's got plenty of time to throw the ball. Let's see who gets the hand on it first. Rex is going to get his hand on it. I don't know who that is, but you'll see Faley just stay with the pass and just knock it away as Rex thought all the way and could have made the catch.
Teddy Joe goes to the sideline as they go with the nickel defense and bring in Carlos James. Detmer dumps it off to Jamal Willis. Willis finding the left side. Willis gets another block. Willis is near a first down. He needed to get to the 25-yard line. It was a gain of 17. So it's 4th down and another decision time for Detmer and his coach, Lavelle Edwards.
I don't think there's any decision right here. The way they've been kicking field goals, they're going to go for it right here. This is a screen pass. They set it up. Detmer fakes, allows the rush to get him, waits till the last second, and now watch this freshman read these blocks and come backside. 6'4". He's going to be an outstanding player before he leaves BYU. Broken field runner and gets as much as he can out of that play. 4th down and about 4.
11:43 to go. Detmer calls timeout. And we'll take timeout as well, as Iowa holding on to a 7-point lead.
Need an extra car? Get ready. Call Thrifty for a roomy minivan to go. How about a fun weekend retreat? Get set. Call Thrifty for that weekend breather. Now you can use this credit card for Montgomery Ward car rental at participating Thrifty locations and in select Auto Express locations at Montgomery Ward. With Thrifty, you can leave it all behind, and you get away with paying less. Thrifty car rental, because it's your money.
So we're enjoying our favorite spot, and we see this old guy. Hey, Bobs! Then there was this huge wave. We thought the old guy was history. That was hot. Anyway, we were impressed.
Guru dude, want a cold bud?
Groovy. Groovy. Despite our language differences, all surfers share a universal communication. Oops.
Whoa.
Most car companies make a distinction between a car and its driver. But in the Volkswagen Passat GL, they are one. One in the precision and control of its responsiveness. The way German engineering translates your every move. In short, it's the unique coming together we call Fahrvergnügen. And that's where we make our distinction.
ESPN's presentation of the Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl, Iowa and Brigham Young is brought to you by Thrifty Car Rental. For worldwide reservations, call 1-800-4CARS or your travel consultant. And by Volkswagen. Enjoy the unique European driving experience called Fahrvergnügen, only in a Volkswagen. Steve Fiziak, Gary Danielson back at the Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl at San Diego Jack Murphy Stadium, where Lavelle Edwards calling timeout. His club down by 7. It's a 4th and 4. Hayden Fry's talked with his defense, and here we go. Detmer spotting something. He's going long. Tyler Anderson. Touchdown. He sees everybody.
It's not just what he sees, it's what he understands of the pass offense. He knows he has a man going deep every time. Iowa gambles. They bring 8 people. He knows he's got someone on the post. Great protection for that strong of a blitz. And look at him put the ball up in a position where just one guy can get the ball. Tyler, look at this. I've seen this 85 times. I'm not even going to get excited about
123,
this.
actually. And we are tied in San Diego.
You're going to see right here Iowa coming with the blitz. They bring up their people. They've been showing this look all game. But Ty Detmer had a feeling that he was going to get rushed here with these guys playing man-to-man, and they were going to take the post behind it and hit Anderson. Watch how it happens. The safeties come up. He knows he's got man-to-man coverage. He beats it to the post. Look how patient he is with this throw, and he puts it into a position where just one guy can get it. His man deep into the secondary to tie this football game up. I'll bet Ty's a little more excited than Lavelle Edwards, even though he was there for all the touchdown passes, too. Lavelle Edwards has got the best poker face I've ever seen.
He has been special tonight, you know. He was talking about going into the NFL next year, and he said, you know, I'm never going to be able to bench press more than anybody else or run faster, but put me with a team and let me work out the timing. That's my situation.
Well, Steve, I got to say, I was a little embarrassed at halftime, even commenting on whether I thought Ty Detmer could play. I mean, I'm a couple inches taller than him. I was fortunate enough to play for 14 years, but I could never play to the level that Ty Detmer is playing right now.
So Kaufman, who just tied it up, kicks off, and he booms it deep. The Cougars have some adrenaline, and they've got some momentum. Let's go back to Dr. Jerry Bunch.
Well, a former MVP of the Holiday Bowl and now with the 49ers, Steve Young. And Steve, first of all, another Young playing for the Cougars here, little brother Tom.
Yeah, they keep giving us scholarships, so my dad keeps making us come out here. It's been it's 3 in a row now, but hopefully Tom will get some playing time next year.
The big question, after seeing what Ty just did a minute ago with that blitz, can he play in the NFL?
Oh, yeah. You're not going to find a college quarterback with more poise or savvy than Ty Detmer. And he reminds me a lot of Bernie Kosar in the pocket, how aware he is. I think an NFL team would do very well with him. So I expect him to go very high. A lot of people don't, but I do.
Pretty good vote of confidence coming from this guy who's a pretty darn good NFL quarterback himself. Let's go back upstairs.
Yeah, Lavelle Edwards, Steve, also said that Steve Young was the best athlete he ever coached. I mean, he's had Jim McMahon, Steve Young, Ty Detmer. I mean, he's had Robbie Bosco. He said, had he not hurt his arm, would have been playing also. So he knows how to recognize
And I thought it was interesting that Lavelle compared Ty with Jim McMahon. He said that competitive nature, that spirit, that fire they play with is so similar. Rodgers, play action. Broken up by Josh Arnold. He has 3 sacks, a couple of breakups, and he is heading towards our defensive player of the game.
Matt Rodgers had the tight end down the middle. He had the coverage, but he was late delivering the ball. The ball should be there now. It lasted a little bit too long, and Arnold had time to come in and make the play. When you're throwing to that tight end down the middle of the field off play action, the quarterback has to understand to get it there before he gets more than 18 to 20 yards downfield, or the safeties will make the play. Matt Rodgers just a little bit late on that throw.
Second down, 10. They come hard with 7. Rodgers loops it, and almost catching the football at the 40-yard line was his wideout Harold Jasper.
I'll tell you, that throw by Matt Rodgers was as good as anything Ty Detmer has ever done. He had a guy holding on to his leg, and he threw that ball almost horizontal to the field right here. Watch this. He knows he's got a blitz. He gets grabbed from the inside. Now look at horizontal. He throws that ball and puts it right on the money, and Harold Jasper just does not come up with the catch. A big drop that time.
So it's 3rd down and 10.
BYU is just gambling every play. Man-to-man coverage. They want to put pressure on him. Here they come again.
Dane and Hughes went in motion. Rodgers airing it out. And it's intercepted. Tony Crutchfield. Rodgers' first real mistake of the game.
Steve, more than a mistake, when you have man-to-man coverage, you throw that ball up and you figure in man-to-man coverage, your guy is going to get this catch. Give credit to Crutchfield. You see him throw it just a little bit short of where he wanted it to go, but what a job by Crutchfield to cut Hughes off and then turn around and find the ball to make the play. The guy who said to say hi to Mom, there he goes. We got another opportunity to do it. Hi, Connie.
Lavelle Edwards hasn't changed his expression yet. It's a 1st and 10. for the Cougars in a tie football game. Ty Detmer leading the way, and on first down, going back to Peter Tuipulotu. You know, they had really 9 points and chances. A 4th and 1 that they decided to go for. It was an easy field goal, and then they missed 2 field goals that were relatively inside 41 yards.
And an extra point. Of course, both teams has missed an extra point, but also now realize that they're going for it. It's 4-down territory when they were behind. That puts a lot of pressure on this Iowa defense. They played well, but it's hard to hold a team to less than what they've done, 13 points.
On second down, Detmer, wide open, Peter Tuipulotu for the first down inside the Hawkeyes' 35-yard line. 24 yards on the throw.
His timing on this throw is incredible. How he knew, I'm sitting up here 40 yards in the stands, how Ty Detmer knew that this back was going to break open when he did is amazing to me. You see him deliver that ball exactly when it had to be delivered, and before Doug Birch could come over and make the play, he has the ball in his hands and moving the ball down the field again.
And mark it at the 36-yard line. Detmer now is 300 yards passing, 24 of 37 and 2 touchdowns. Back to the air he goes. Has his man, Tuipulotu. Boy, they have to be just agonizing to try and defend.
They also have to be agonizing from getting tired. When you throw the ball a lot in a football game, those inside guys, those defensive ends and tackles that are trying to rush over and over again. Remember the points we made early when they blitzed and he just got it out of his hand and frustrated them with just 2- and 3-yard gains? It starts to pay off late in the game.
How come you don't say the offense gets tired? Because they know what they're doing?
To rush that passer is as hard as you can do.
He fumbled the football and looks like Iowa has it. Yes, they do.
Well, this play did not start off right from the snap right here. Ty Detmer either got hit by somebody or somebody grabbed his foot, and the handoff was not clean that time. It looks like he ran into somebody on the snap right here. No, he got his foot stepped on, and then he ran into Tuipulotu on the handoff. Watch, he gets his foot stepped on, and that throws him off balance, and that causes the problem right from the beginning. It looked like the handoff was clean, but he never had it wrapped up as he entered into that tough situation through the line of scrimmage.
And John Derby made the recovery. But you know what? We had a shot of Tuipulotu with his hands on his knees after the 24-yard catch, and he was just exhausted. He gets the football and fumbles it on the next play. Rogers going back to Saunders. First down easily and a couple more. And I'm just wondering if that added to the fumble, just the fatigue.
I think it's a very legitimate point. He got hit also very hard on that play. Not only fatigue, but you wonder if he was a little bit groggy as he caught that one too.
There's Peter right there. He's played such a fine year, a senior from San Mateo, California. They'll give it to Montgomery. Lou Montgomery smashes his way up near the 43. Shad Hansen on the tackles.
It's very difficult when a team is willing to commit 8 people and penetrate and rush and blitz the line of scrimmage to be patient with the running game. But if Iowa is patient and traps them one time, there's no one in the secondary. You could spring somebody for a very long run right now trying to trap block.
2nd and 5. 8 minutes and 38 seconds to play. Last 3 possessions for Iowa have been ineffective. And they go to their big tight end, Alan Cross. 2nd team all Big Ten. He has the catch and up very close to a first down.
Well, I think if you would have told Hayden Fry that in the 4th quarter with about half the game still left, half of the 4th quarter left, he would hold BYU to 13 points, he would figure he'd have a big lead. But this is a dogfight now at 13-13, and he's pulling out every play. The first play of the drive was a throwback pass off play action, and this was a tight end little seam off play action. So he's doing everything he's got in the offense now. He knows he needs points.
In the last 3 Holiday Bowls, they've averaged over 80 points scoring. This one, with 2 of the most potent offenses in the country, we've only had 26 total points. Both teams rising to the occasion.
Yeah, and as he calls these plays, there's no real mystery of what BYU is doing. Everybody in the house knows they're going to blitz and play man-to-man coverage, so he can call everything with confidence, knowing what he's expecting the defense to do.
Mitchell will have single coverage on the receiver to the top of your screen. It's Ken Jones, but they give it to Saunders, and Saunders sliding through for the first down and a bundle more. We had a sellout crowd here at San Diego's Jack Murphy Stadium for the 14th annual Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl. 7 minutes and 58 seconds remain now. A 13-13 tie. Iowa led 13-6 at the half on a pair of Mike Saunders touchdowns. Detmer hit Peter Tuipulotu for their 6 points, but in this half, Detmer went deep to Tyler Anderson to tie things up. And now it's Rogers on the drive with a first down at the Brigham Young 36. Saunders, nothing there. Second down.
That time BYU came up into the bear front, put 8 men at the line of scrimmage. The 2 corners were man-to-man to the outside, daring them to throw. Iowa right now feels that they could take time off the clock and run the ball. I like this drive. I think they've been effective all second half. They just haven't been able to handle the blitz.
Well, you got to think they're going to be coming here on 2nd and 10.
Well, they've been coming every other down, so they might as well come on this one.
Saunders, Kuyava in the backfield. Kuyava's number 23.
There you see it, 8 men up.
And here comes Giles. And down goes Rogers, but a flag will be down back upfield.
I think they might get Tony Crutchfield for holding in the secondary on the outside, too.
Look at that Crutchfield with John Falloon. They were arguing earlier, and now
the intentional grounding flag is wiped off. There was a receiver in the area.
So it's 3rd and 10.
Got away with it there. They brought 8 men that time. Crutchfield got a great jam. I just thought the referee right there thought he saw something right in front of him.
On the defense.
Yeah, I was pretty sure that he had Crutchfield to the outside on the illegal jam or something. Let's see if we can get a look at it right here. Bottom of your screen, that's Crutchfield, number 24, on the jam. It's right to the face mask. I thought it was holding when I initially saw it. I think he could have called anything he wanted to it, and it was a penalty on Crutchfield.
Up to this point, he has played a remarkable game. Had that key interception to stop the Iowa drive earlier.
Now they're wondering again if it should be intentional grounding or offsetting penalties, I guess, because they're having a big conference. You know, these are Big 8 officials. They haven't seen this many passes ever in the Big 8.
5 yards on the defense.
So that will make it 2nd down and 5. Jeff Skillett, field goal kicker, who has been ineffective in this game. He has missed an extra point, and his longest field goal in his career is 48 yards. Got it off in time.
Yeah, Rogers got it off in time, but they had illegal procedure in the backfield. Matt's upset, but it's just the backs were moving prior to the snap, and that was the penalty.
Right at the snap, the clock showed 0, yeah, but he had gotten the snap away.
Matt knew it, and he's been doing a good job of it all night. You'll see the backs, a late audible, they're shifting. Kuyava gets his hands down, and really that shouldn't be a penalty because Saunders is going backwards on that, and he didn't put his hand down. In all reality, that could have been backward motion by the back. Kuyava was stopped on the play, and it really was not necessarily a penalty. Tough break for Iowa on that one. Yeah, Matt was upset with the call because he was looking at that 25-second clock and he felt he got it off, but it happened behind him.
So we're back to where we started from 2nd and 10. They're showing blitz, and here they come. Rogers looking there. Oh, down he goes. He gave it off to Saunders. He gave it off to Saunders, who was stopped for a 3-yard loss, and then flags go down after the tackle.
That's what you call a Statue of Liberty play.
Well, he fooled me.
Fake the pass and hand it off all in one motion. A beautiful play right there, but BYU stayed with it, and it looks like Iowa has the penalty.
I was on the boat back to Ellis Island.
Flip by the offense during the run.
Little Statue of Liberty. Watch Matt come back. Pump fake, and then slip it to the backside, and then he gets hit just after he lets the ball go. But everybody's keeping their heads up for BYU. They watch the ball carry. You're going to get a clip just outside of there it is. Number 65 from the backside. Scott Davis is the guy who clipped from the backside. Another look at it from the outside. Saunders comes one way, spins back, and then to the top of your screen, number 65, he's going to peel back. And it's just going to happen outside of our screen there. But believe me, Scott Davis, the junior tackle, is the guy who gets him from the back.
It's one-on-one tackle by Patrick Mitchell.
There you're looking right there, defensive coordinator Ken Schmidt for BYU. The architect, he's had some tough days coaching the defense at BYU, but tonight he has them in sync, playing very well.
2nd and 25. They cut off Giles. They throw backfield, and the catch is made. About 3 yards shy of a first down, John Falloon, who has been a major offensive force in this game for the Hawkeyes.
What you'll see right here is that the BYU team is playing a roll-type zone right here, trying to keep everything in front of them. But on the backside, this guy's going to come way in here and then bring it by the backside out. They're going to roll to his right and throw back. It's an old type of a play, throw back against the zone, and he's got him to the outside of a play beautifully. I'll tell you, Hayden Fry is pulling out all the stops on this drive. He's done everything he has in his bag of tricks.
7 catches for 107 yards for that man, John Falloon. We told you earlier, Hayden Fry said when Matt's in trouble, that's the man he goes to. Well, he's out of the game now. It's 3rd and 4.
Here they come.
Rogers, incomplete. Flag on the play, interference.
No doubt about it. Patrick Mitchell comes from the backside and grabs Dana Hughes, I believe it was. Dana Hughes comes out. He goes just far enough to get the first down, and Patrick Mitchell grabs him with his left hand. You'll see Dana Hughes go in motion, comes up just enough for the first down, pushes off. Now watch Patrick Mitchell with his left arm just grab that left shoulder from Dana Hughes, and that is interference. Matt Rogers knows it. He's going to put his eyes right on it right there. That's got to be it.
So now from the 26-yard line of Brigham Young. Patrick Mitchell, just a freshman, and forced into that position when they suspended Irvin Lee and Paul Pitts.
Great pickup of a first down on those 2 plays right there. You get the long pass and the first down on back-to-back plays.
Ken Jones in the game now. For Iowa, he is wide to the left and wide receiver. Saunders. And out-duel Scott Giles.
Right now, Brigham Young is lining up in that bear defense every time. They're putting 8 people close to the line of scrimmage. I wouldn't be surprised in this area right now for Matt Rogers to carry the ball. An option-type play, block the end man to the line of scrimmage, and get Matt Rogers out to the outside where he's so effective.
2nd and 7, inside 5.5 minutes to go. A tie football game between Iowa and Brigham Young. Saunders the lone setback behind Rogers. One tackle, but cannot escape the defensive back, Derwin Gray. Sports Center is coming your way after the game on ESPN, and we have a bevy of events to tell you about, all kinds of college football and 2 bowl games today, and a Rose and Orange Bowl report. Orlando Magic, they have not won in December, or did they tonight? Bobby Ross, is he going to the San Diego Chargers? We'll find out. Sports Center is coming up next with Bob and Dan. 3rd and 7 for Iowa here. 4.5 to go. And Josh Arnold, the blitz was avoided. They throw to the end zone, incomplete. It's 4th down.
Well, Josh Arnold just bothered Matt Rogers enough to make that throw just a little bit too far. He knew he had man-to-man coverage. He had the matchup he wanted to do, but that guy, number 20, came from the outside. He got by Alan Cross, the tight end, and just bothered Rogers enough where he had to throw the ball a little bit off his normal sink, and he just let him just a little bit too much. Saunders just could not catch up.
So Jeff Skillett is on for a 40-yard field goal, his career best 48. It's long this year from 41. And he hits it, and it's going to be wide right. So Brigham Young takes over with 4:19 to go. Can you believe it? A wild one at San Diego's Jack Murphy Stadium. 4:19 to go. LaBelle Edwards Cougars have the football tied at 13.
There's no distinction between car and driver in the Volkswagen Jetta. They are one. A oneness we call Fahrvergnügen. It's the way the car responds to your every move with remarkable precision and control. The way its German engineering translates into genuine driving pleasure. Not every car company can promise that. In fact, there's only...
So much to celebrate. Corbel Champagne.
At Thrifty Car Rental, we know traveling on business has its good points and its bad points, its ups and its downs. So to make those trips a little less hectic, Thrifty offers this luxurious Chrysler Fifth Avenue for only $29.95 a day. Because no matter how much money you make...
You all set, Mr. Goodsky?
It is, after all, your money.
Hayden Fry talking with his coaches, but now his team must go play defense. 13-13 ball game. Iowa Brigham Young, 4:19 to go. And at the conclusion of this game, Gary and I will be choosing the Thrifty Car Rental player of the game. And we have several choices. Saunders, Rogers, Detmer, Josh Arnold, Tui Pelotu. Detmer finds the middle. Now that Iowa defense had led the Big Ten.
His decision-making, Ty Detmer's decision-making is so quick in the pocket. He wanted to throw that ball to his tight end on the left side. They took it away from him, and he came back, knew where his crossing route was, and delivered it almost all in one motion. Amazing ability to throw the ball without even trying to step in. And I like Steve Young's analysis that he reminds him of Bernie Kosar. And what he does that Bernie Kosar can do is throw the ball from any position very quickly. Bernie gets rid of it just like Ty Detmer does.
On first down, Teddy Joe Paley showed blitz, then dropped off. Detmer unloads, almost intercepted. Nearest man to the football was free safety Gary Clark.
Gary Clark had a beat on that one. You could see this ball was just not very well thrown. It was an overthrow, and that ball, boy, you could have had that one. And that would have really changed the complexion here. You know, you can't think of anybody you'd rather have on the field than Ty Detmer in this situation. 3.5 minutes, 3:40 to go. The best guy in the country at running this type of situation. He almost gave it back to Iowa.
3:48 to go. We are tied at 13. 42-yard line where the tackle's made by Teddy Joe Faley. They must get it out past the 43 for a first down. Kicking game has been ugly tonight as the Hawkeyes have missed a field goal and an extra point, and Brigham Young has missed 2 field goals and an extra point.
5 missed kicks, and it's really told the difference in this game. In the 13-13, it's really changed the complexion of the game.
3rd down and 2. They give it to Willis, and he escapes for the first down. Boy, this guy's a big-time runner.
Yeah, he's grown into the position as he's grown and learned the offense. I like how he switches the ball from hand to hand. He starts out in his right hand, little pull by the line. He gets it. When he breaks to the left side, he switches to his left hand right here because he knows he wants to protect it. There's the switch, so he can still deliver the straight arm and pick up the positive yardage.
Nevada's High School Player of the Year last year. He ran for 1,180 yards. He has run for 65 in this game. Trage goes in motion. Detmer goes with the draw. And Tui Pelotu, the man who fumbled, gets 5 yards to the 46-yard line.
So what do you do if you're Bill Brazier, defensive coordinator for Iowa? You know whatever you dial, you can't let Detmer do it. Know what you're going to do before the snap. Iowa's done a great job of disguising, but they still don't have the ability to put pressure on him without coming with the blitz. So you wonder if you're going to see it, because that's the only way they've been able to put pressure on him.
We saw Kaufman, their field goal kicker, he had been warming up about 30 seconds ago, and now he has stopped. Timeouts remaining. Hawkeyes have all 3. Detmer, look at this. Hartley trying to clinch him. Flag goes down. Detmer throws the pass to Willis, but he can't hold on, but a flag went down.
Yeah, they're going to get a face mask to the outside. John Hartley came across, and when Ty ducked under, he just got the face mask inadvertently. Hartley, number 42, is going to come from the right side. As he goes by, he just sticks out the paw, and he grabs onto the face mask. Look at the presence right here. He's going to come out to the outside and deliver the ball, and Jamal Willis drops it.
Face mask, 5 yards on the defense.
Well, that should give him the first down.
I have an official's timeout to check the length of the penalty before we mark it off for a first down.
Did he say that? Did he say that right? Right, boy. There's probably one of the big plays in the game right there. Leroy Smith not being here in the second half. The 4-man rush and him coming from the outside has not been effective. And when they've tried the blitz, they've been burnt deep.
Because of that, we are tied at 13. It was 13-6 at the half, and then Detmer hit Tyler Anderson. Now we've got 1:57 to go, and Brigham Young should have the football very close to first down or a first down. They needed 5 yards. There he is. A quote from Bobby Bowden talking about Ty Detmer. He said, you know, I like his coolness. If he was a pitcher, you'd say he had every pitch, a fastball, a curve, a slider. We had him stop cold. It throws across his body for a first down. He is really something. 2nd and 1. They did not make the first down. They'll come up about a couple of inches shy.
This might almost be a tough break for Iowa. I'd almost rather have them 1st and 10 than 2nd and inches right here.
They sneak it. And it appears that Detmer got the first down as he goes across his big center, Gary Pay.
And the reason I say that is because it's going to take another 25 seconds off the clock. And if BYU does score on this drive with a field goal or a touchdown, there's just not going to be much time for you to come back and try to take a shot at him with your offense.
You know, his numbers are down from last year, but his coaches really feel he's done a better job this year because he's worked with an inexperienced team, and he's cut his interceptions from 28 to 12.
Screen to the wide receiver.
Drake, 35-30.
It's a play that is typical now. Everybody has it in college football because the linemen are allowed to go downfield and block on a pass that's thrown behind the line of scrimmage. It's a play that was created for the Rocket at Notre Dame. You'll see Drage come behind the line of scrimmage. The lineman can go downfield and block. It's a middle screen to the wide receiver. And again, it picks up that 8, 9, 10 yards. And it also takes another 20 seconds off the clock.
And they will measure. This is the 14th annual Thrifty Car Rental Bowl, and it has been a dandy. Abel Edwards has had his field goal kicker, Ulrich Hoffman, warming up on the sideline his entire time.
I think Iowa will be forced to do some type of blitzing to stop them on this drive. They have to get a sack, and the only way they're doing it without Leroy Smith is to come inside with some linebackers and defensive backs. Here they come.
Yeah. And Willis has stopped cold.
I think it's Larry Blue got him, and I'm not surprised by them doing that. They already are in close to field goal situation. You know, if you're going to lose, you're going to lose, but you got to get them out of field position. You just can't sit in that zone all day and let them march it down the field.
Loss of 4 yards.
Loss of 4 yards in the play to make it 2nd and 14. That's Earl Kaufman. He had a miss, and the guy who replaced Lever had a miss. He has a chance to redeem himself because we will be inside of a minute to play. 2nd and 14.
Come on.
Detmer. Oh, man, he loops it to him. Halfback and Tui Pelotu near a first down.
Look at, he's just walking around, 43 seconds to go, no rush. He has complete control of it. How he saw that guy that time, I have no idea.
He calls a timeout with 33 seconds remaining. And we will take timeout as well. 33 seconds to play. Brigham Young and Iowa tied at 13. And Detmer.
Almost everything needs repairs sometime, and when they do, you can't always wait for repairmen to come. When you need your garage door or garage door opener fixed and you want it fixed fast, call Adams Door Company. Adams repairmen are professionally trained to get the job done right and get it done fast. Remember, when you need your garage door or garage door opener repaired fast, call Adams Door Company before noon and get your garage door fixed the same day in most cases. Adams Door Company.
Gather around and I'll fill your head with words about the Iowa Mushing Shed, a fun and convenient little old place where you can go to feed your face. Steaks to make your mouth just water. If you ain't been there, well, you oughter. They got chops, Iowa pork. Don't need your knife, just use your fork. Got ham, chicken, catfish too, tender and juicy, waiting for you. Got something else they'd like you to try, apple dumpling and maybe some pie. For breakfast, lunch, especially dinner, take yourself into a winter. A place where your taste buds can cavort. Iowa Machine Shed in Davenport.
Breath.
As soon as I have my coffee, it's all gone.
Whether you admit it or not, it's a problem.
Okay, I have morning breath, but it doesn't bother anyone.
Don't be so sure.
Mine's not so bad.
Morning breath's not as bad as you think. It's worse. So get Scope. Its 2 powerful ingredients kill 90% of the bacteria that cause morning breath.
Was my morning breath really that bad?
There's no denying morning breath, so save your breath with Scope.
Take a look at this play again one more time, Steve. He's in the pocket, and you wonder how he finds anybody. This is what it looked. There's people all around him. He wants to go downfield. He feels pressure. He goes to his right, and are you kidding me? How can he find that guy to the left? I don't see how he does. He never even looked over there to find him for a big, well, 3rd and inches on that play.
Brigham Young fired up. They've got a 3rd and inches situation with 33 seconds left. Look at the cut over his eye he suffered in the San Diego State game. Had 22 stitches and still rallied his troops from 45-17 down. He's got a cut on his chin with another 19 stitches from the Miami game last year. There's your timeout situation.
Look for the quarterback sneak and get right back up and run a play.
He's giving it.
He missed the
rolling it out. He's diving ahead, and he's out of bounds. He stops the clock at 26 and has a Brigham Young first down.
He's not fast, but he missed the handoff on that one, and he was really upset. Willis got a little bit too wide, and he missed it on a sweep call that time. They had the perfect call on because Iowa blitzed inside. but he missed the handoff, and he had the presence to go with the blocking and pick up the first down, plus get out of bounds.
You know, I remember talking with several of the San Francisco 49ers when Joe Montana had that drive in the Super Bowl against the Cincinnati Bengals, and they said, you know, you could look into his eyes and feel he was going to do it. You've got to believe that the Cougars feel that same thing with number 14. Play action. Rolling left. He fires. It's tipped and intercepted. Carlos James.
Between being a hero and being sometimes called the GOAT is going for something sometimes that other guys don't have the guts to do it. He throws the ball to someone covered a little bit too much that time. Byron Rex gets one picked off. Shouldn't have thrown the ball, there's no doubt. In that type of situation, when a field goal wins it. But when a guy has come back from behind so many times, he only knows one way to play, and he thinks he can stick it through any hole.
His first interception of the game. 350 yards passing in his final game at Brigham Young. And now it's Matt Rogers' turn with just 16 seconds to go.
Cannot get an interception on their side of the field.
Rogers trying to hit cross with 9 ticks of the clock left. And I'd like to say thank you to my stats man. Pat McGrath has done such a great job through this year, and Gary Lynn, the spotter. Ryan Williams in the truck, our producer, our director, Scott Johnson.
Rogers' friends just a minute ago, the offensive coordinator had to console Ty Detmer. He was just beside himself. Be in a position to win a game.
Lavelle Edwards' expression remains the same. 9 seconds left. A 13-13 ball game. Carlos James, the hero of the game.
George, it's Mother. I know you're sick. Look by your bed. That's the #1 cough medicine. Take it and call me in the morning.
Thanks, Mom. But this cold is massive. I need NyQuil. With your cough medicine, I'd still be up tonight, sneezing and aching. And, Mom, I gotta rest, because tomorrow I'm eloping. Good night.
Vicks NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head fever so you can rest medicine. Also available in new liquid caps.
To me, there's nothing better than winning a Super Bowl or a NASCAR race. That's why when my race team hits the circuit, there'll be an interstate battery cranking it up. Interstate's my kind of battery because it's got the power and stamina it takes to be a winner. So insist on an Interstate battery from over 200,000 automotive service, repair, and parts centers everywhere. Call 1-800-CRANK-IT for the one nearest you. You win every time with Interstate.
No other film in the world gives you more ferocious color than Kodak Gold. Capture the true colors of your wild thing with Kodak Gold.
Wild thing, I think I love
you. He has had a remarkable career, and in his final game, wearing the blue and white of the Brigham Young Cougars, Mr. Detmer may end this contest like his first name.
Yeah. How ironic, a guy who set every record, his last pass in college football is an interception.
But you always told me, Gary, the champions go for it. And he is a champion. Mike Saunders. With 2 seconds left, they try and stop the clock, and they do. A 20-yard run by Saunders to give Matt Rogers a little more room to throw the football.
Now they can go with the long bomb and try to tip it up and try to get a cheap one down the field. You might get the type of play where it bounces off a couple guys and get the cheap touchdown off of the Big Ben, Hail Mary, whatever you want to call it. Matt Rogers ending his career. There you see the Iowa guys, both of them. Neither one, the last two games that BYU was in, ended in ties. One 52-52, and this one 13-13. Iowa comes into here, plays a great, solid defensive football game, but could just not muster enough offense that they expected. I know they expected they had to score at least 28 points to win this game. They have to be surprised they couldn't score that much.
And the Holiday Bowl people have to be very excited about the game that we have seen here, and our thanks to the president of the Holiday Bowl, Morris Seaver, their executive director, John Reed, who've really done a terrific job throughout. Luncheon on Friday, the parade on Saturday, and the two teams they brought here, Brigham Young and Iowa, have absolutely put on a remarkable show. We said it would come down to quarterbacks, and it did just that. Matt Rogers, 221 yards, and Ty Detmer, 350 yards passing.
You can see BYU lined up 40 yards downfield as if it's going to be a kickoff. You wonder now if BYU happens to come through with an interception. We're going to see a few Atlanta laterals here before anything happens.
Well, they've got three guys wide left, and Rogers is going to air it out. And I mean, they have a quadruple zone defense. Hughes is going after it. It's knocked down, and this game is over. The 14th annual Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl ends in a 13-13 tie. Two of the great coaches in college football, LaBelle Edwards and that man Hayden Fry, will meet at midfield for their handshake. One with 189 wins, the other with 183. And you can add a tie to it as Matt Rogers ends his final campaign as an Iowa Hawkeye. LaBelle Edwards and Hayden Fry. Our player of the game, Ty Detmer, 350 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. And the champion that he is, he went for it on the final one through an interception, and we end in 13-13. Well, down in the field with Ty Detmer is our Dr. Jerry Punch.
Ty, you've been named the player of the game here for this Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl. You shake your head. You have nothing to hang your head about. A tremendous effort today.
I'm smarter than to do that. You know, field position, got the game won. If we just kick the field goal and try to force something in there, gets tipped up in there, you know, I shouldn't have done that. You know, I'm smarter than, no better than to do that, and you know, just got caught up in the game and took a chance. And you know, Iowa's a great team, you know, a great defensive team, and it was tough going for us.
You struggled a little bit in the first half, but you started to catch fire late in the first half. Did you see something different in the defense you wanted to try to exploit?
Well, they were just dropping deep, you know, and it was tough to get anything off past them. We weren't going to get much deep, and you know, just try to pick them apart a little bit at a time. And we controlled the ball, you know, quite a bit the second half, which, you know, enabled us to get some drives going, and just blew it at the end.
The touchdown in the fourth quarter, we saw you make some moves to your helmet. Did you think the blitz was coming? You were going to try to just make the quick pass and go in and score?
I knew the blitz was coming, and you know, free safety cheated up, and Tyler got behind his man and made a great catch on it. You know, just made my read and got the ball to him.
Tremendous career. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
The most prolific passer in NCAA history. His career at BYU was over. Ty Detmer, the MVP here of the Holiday Bowl. Back upstairs.
Last time he'll wear the blue and white. Matt Rogers says goodbye as well. Last time he'll wear the black and gold of the Iowa Hawkeyes. Leroy Smith on to professional football and out with a knee injury in this football game. We wish them all well. It has been a dandy at the Thrifty Car Rental Holiday Bowl. It ends in a 13-13 tie. For Gary Danielson, I'm Steve Physiak. Sports Center's coming up next. Good night.